How do you think they took the dead internet? Who like? Had you talked about the dead internet theory on on the internet prior to it, or is it just something that you had thought up?
No, no, it is something I brought up on IRC
Oh, okay.
because I believe it actually happened. I believe there was like a some sort of mass gateway that brought us into the like the
Yeah, I don't use that term.
we all turned into gods or
I don't.
something.
I
We all
don't.
turned into
I
gods.
don't use that term because I feel it's an ad hominem attack. It dismisses what anybody ever has to say when you throw that word into it. So what I don't
Yeah,
consider
yeah.
it that. I just consider it perhaps if you want to define it as that, that's an agreement between more than one person or two or more people to commit a criminal act, which I think happens all the time. So I
Yeah.
I'm not I don't dismiss your opinion at all. I think that
Here,
if you
here
talked
in
about
Mumbai,
it,
we live in like a no man's land right now here in Mumbai. Because it's sort of like time is just like kind of passed everyone by, and no one really knows. Like there's no there's no consensus on uh, what is going to happen or if anything is going to happen or if anyone's involved. It's like a sort of uh, it's like a sort of extinction kind of feeling, and this relates back to the exact reason I think why the internet was developed. Rabbi, I was thinking about this for a while, and I started to realize like they they kind of like put us into these memory chambers where we were forced to recollect like stuff that happened maybe maybe like a couple of years ago, like when I was in college. They made me like kind of have these flashbacks, and mostly due to my best friend at the time, who also had these kind of flashbacks. Maybe I don't know what they were, but they were memories of like a like a kind of happy time, but it was sort of like in another place, in another life, back when maybe in the future, maybe it happened already. We never know. So these things are widely considered to be uh, votive. I don't know why they call it votive, but uh, it's basically like a part of you exists there, but it never happened. I don't think it happened. To be honest, I don't think any of it is true. I think the memories are all just like some sort of illusion.
okay.
So yeah, I don't know if it's happened to you, but anyone who has a sort of awakened mind or just some sort of I don't know, just some sort of uh, so in Christianity and in Judaism, uh, this this whole thing of well, like the world kind of becoming changing, it's changing like our psyches together, changing form and that coalescing into like a more complicated world. Uh, that actually is real in Christianity. I have ways to prove it, but like I just write about those. So I don't have ways to prove it exactly. But you see it in Hollywood a lot. It's just that you have like let's say for example, imagine a kingdom with a king, right? And
Okay.
he has he can sacrifice like half of his men and still have like the other half, which is more than enough to keep his kingdom, right? So he goes to battle, all those men die, all that happens, and all that happens in the face of a very urgent kind of like goal, right, Rabbi? So in the same way, you could imagine that in an era of peace, if the king somehow lived on more congenial terms with everyone, would that mean that he's sort of like more bound to things in a poetic sense? So if he's more bound to things in a poetic sense, then would those dangers he had before be just as scary or scarier in a world where the realms are just like stuff you see in a poetic sense, right? So you get it, like Rabbi, you're sort of getting it because I talked to you about it before. I don't know if you remember.
I think so. I think I'm getting it.
Yeah. So what happens in the Old Testament, you start to see a lot of remnants of that time. And in the New Testament, I believe that like Christ sort of has to live kind of through that stage. I don't know if he has to live through that stage necessarily, or if uh, he's he's more like a godlike being. So in his crucifixion and stuff, it could possibly mean that what would happen is that if the church is created, right, then you're kind of pitting good versus evil, right? But that good and evil could be the only thing that helps people decide, right? So if you were to put people who believe in God completely versus people who don't believe in God and make that the center of everything, then you'd have a very conflicted morality. So it's a sort of religious superstructure that kind of would work, right? So a lot of music and stuff, music videos, they use a lot of these themes, and a lot of the themes have that overarching sentiment of, there's some sort of mysterious ontology going on here. So yeah, that's why I do believe in God, because essentially, yeah, like witnesses to God. Yeah.
Okay. Well, perhaps that's the way.
Yeah.
Who knows? Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of weird and out there, but you notice it in everyday things, right? Like in only one way we can have like a collective unconscious that just explodes randomly everywhere at the same time. That can only happen because we are bound to a sort of like supernatural reality that's a little scarier than you think, because like let's say you have proof of the afterlife, like so many other people, you have proof of the afterlife, right?
Okay.
And then you show that proof, and you show that proof over and again to the same person, right? After a while, that person is gonna say, hey, like, I might just be divided in this entire thing, and I'm gonna live my life divided in the entire thing. That's kind of what happens sometimes.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the whole thing. Like they're not waging war against flesh and blood, the principalities and powers and such. That's basically what it is. It's just that the the the, the key to understanding the entire thing is that uh, we've kind of we've come to the part where we lose the path that actually says, that there's some sort of hope in the future or whatever, because we're kind of conflicted about that once again. And we want to talk about it, right? You see people he interviewed in Joe Rogan, and they always kind of, they're often that turned into almost like they have to sort of like say that, yeah, they kind of have to bargain with the whole thing because that's about it. That's talking.
Okay, my
Yeah,
man. Pardon me?
Caspian there.
I I think he's just chilling.
Uh, so yeah, that's that's about it. It's a very scary thing when you start to realize that none of us are really prepared for end of partners. They're not the end of everything, but not the end of partners alone. Right. Yeah. So that is the essence of the whole thing was the transformation. You see in the Bible, you see it in your due date, your Jewish text, you see a lot of mention of like this sort of change that happened, and God Himself becomes sort of God Himself considered one of them. Model. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but that's why we have problems with the Holy Trinity, right? Because we always have to imagine that God the Father, Son, Holy Spirit are equal and they go all in their own right, all God in themselves. At the same time, with the full amount of power and authority, it doesn't make sense, right?
It's never made sense to me. That's why I don't believe it.
Yeah. That's what I think is that I've grown up kind of understanding Christianity as God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit as like a dove or fire or whatever, which is basically God's Spirit or Jesus' Spirit is the Holy Spirit. I've never thought of the Holy Spirit as a separate person. So I'm still kind of stuck in that kind of loop of what it is exactly we're talking about here. But I don't believe the same mindset that maybe the Holy Spirit is just kind of like sentient light force that God created. Maybe something like that. It's very complicated. It's essentially what it is. Like imagine where you are, right? It is like a sentient life force that comes out from like a person. I don't know. But how does it entity, right? Like all powerful spirit that sentient life force basically. So that's basically what it is. I think that's what they were called to by the Holy Spirit. So it can possess things, it can possess people.
To be honest with you, Frosty, I don't know anything about that, so I'm not the guy to come
Yeah,
to for information on just because it's polytheism to me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. It makes no sense. Yeah, I can't use myself either in this society because sort of use use that anyway. Very soft, so that's not how it is. then the stuff like early Christmas when you have any Hanukkah plans.
Do I have any Hanukkah plans? Yeah, go viral. Aside from that, lighting candles each night, and I watch Eight Crazy Nights every night. So that's like an Adam Sandler movie. That's what I do. How about you? Do you have big holiday plans?
So my I don't know that. What do you have camping so here? Yeah, candles is yeah. I like that kind of vibe of Christmas.
Is that the one with the little Furby looking things, right? You can't get them wet. When I was really little, that always scared the shit out of me. That scared me. E.T. scared me. That kind of shit was bonkers. So I should probably give it another once over now that I'm probably can take it. I remember you were saying, Frosty, you were looking forward to getting a computer. Is that still in the plans? I sure hope it is. Man, if I could buy you a computer, I would. And you're saying, well, you got all these computers. Trust me, they probably can't run what you want to run. But I really hope you do get that computer you want.
Yeah, I've seen this episode of Joe Rogan. This lady's pretty cool actually. But,
Yeah, I mean, I've now watched a lot of Joe Rogans. Not that I've seen every single one of them or heard every single one of them, but I would say, well, especially when he just went to Spotify, I basically didn't watch him for like 3 years. I used to watch him all the time. Then he went to Spotify, and only if he had like a really good guest on would I listen to him. And then he went back to YouTube, and now that he's back on YouTube, I really feel like that he would not have had the same effect in the United States presidential race if he wasn't on YouTube. That had such a big effect. When he was just on Spotify, he was more of a mediocre voice, but now he's back on YouTube and everybody can catch him just like that. And I think that's the way to go. I love some things about him where he's a very logical person. And if he's able to, he got this $250 million deal at Spotify. And instead of getting greedy, he just said, look, let's do another $250 million one. But I want to be able to put my shit on all of the different platforms. And Spotify was like, cool. I mean, that's amazing that they've been so, and it's smart of them because by getting Joe Rogan, they basically have created themselves as the capital of the podcast world.
yeah. It's so hard, and then it's almost like having that much money is almost like writing a book, to be honest. It's almost the same thing because once you have that much capital, people move it around and just become your own philanthropist. I don't know how he does it. He probably has like a bunch of people. Probably has his own finance group or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone who, I don't want to say he's a one-man show, but he does have like a manager and he's got an agent, but he could make so much more money if he wanted to. He could be The Rock when it comes to like an action hero if he wanted to be. He could go do Fear Factor again and make that a huge show again. He could make his own sitcom. He could do what Kill Tony Stone. I mean, he knows he can do all that shit. He doesn't want to. That's what I like about him. He just wants to basically create the capital of comedy in Austin, Texas, which he's done. And then on top of that, he has a few things that he does, and he's like world class at them. He's the best podcaster in the world. He's an excellent television host. He's an excellent comedian. Like that right there's a trifecta. But on top of that, he's like an excellent pool player, an excellent archer, and he's like really, really into UFC. I haven't even mentioned UFC yet. And like, you know, he's like the best UFC announcer they could have ever wanted. So
Back, my mom's back. Yeah.
okay, peace, dude.
Bye.
Goodbye. Hey, Caspian C, can you hear me? Caspian C, can you hear me? Caspian C, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
You're good. You, so I was just reading. You watched the fight on Netflix, is that correct?
I did. I watched other things, yeah.
Did it freeze on you or did it stall on you?
That's some issue.
Okay, but you didn't have to pay extra for it, did you? It was just included in normal Netflix. Very cool. Because there were so many people complaining about it, like how it was operating. That I mean, I get it. I was able to watch it on. Well, Antonio Brown was live streaming it there. I've seen this. I actually fucking hate this. I've seen this type of technology that I've. So basically, there's a graphic designer on Twitter, and he comes up with ideas that are like what Apple should do with their phone and such. And I've seen one thing that I think they will implement. It's a concert mode so that your phone does not allow for live streaming or recording when it senses that you're in like a perimeter of a concert. How bullshit is that? Yeah, I know it makes sense. It's a great idea, but to anyone in the world of piracy who sails the seven seas, it sucks. I went to a couple years ago. I went to the Rolling Stones at SoFi, and I didn't live stream it because I didn't, but I recorded it all. And I know people. I mean, it's not like I was sitting there with the phone above my head blocking anyone's view. I had the phone just like this, like I was bootlegging a movie in the '90s. But did they make fun of people for saying like, "Oh, who the hell would want to watch a concert after you've already been to it?" I would. And like 50 years from now, I think that's gonna be cool as fuck. And anybody else would. Perfect, exactly. Or Wembley? At Wembley, you mean? But yeah, same shit. I know you did. Yeah, exactly. So I kind of saw it as the same way. Like, this is the Rolling Stones. This is one of their perhaps last concerts. Now, that was years ago, but it's like something that you want to preserve. And I don't understand. Well, I do understand. You get like you. There's a lot of gaslighting that happens in this world, and you get the consensus to be, oh, that's rude, or that's bad, or why would you ever want to do that? And then people don't do it so that they're able to, that these massive companies can sell box sets and special edition concert CDs or whatever, not streaming, whatever. But I can see that happening in the future where you can't stream when you're at like a football game or a sporting event or a concert. And like you said, it is a good idea. And I don't know why they don't do it already. Yeah. I know it doesn't necessarily pay for this, but like banner ads are. I don't understand why they don't have like, hey, do you want to watch Netflix for free? Cool. You just have to have a banner ad going all the time. Yeah, I mean, just like, or even like, in exchange, I'm about free, and not just because I like to save, but I think that when something is free, it has mass appeal. Then you can say to anyone, hey, did you see XYZ? And they're like, oh yeah, I saw XYZ because it was free and it was easy to get. Instead of like, hey, did you see this random thing on Cinemax? And yeah, you got to have like Cinemax Pro. Like, dude, nobody fucking watched that. What are you talking about? Like, oh, because it was, yeah. And I'm of the belief that if you give away the content, the merchandising is really where you make money. So for someone like Taylor Swift, I would say to her, look, girl, give away your music. Don't make people, or whatever. Give away your music, because then when you have a concert series, your prices are going to be thousands of dollars, and your merchandising is going to be XYZ, like huge amounts of money, like Star Wars. Star Wars didn't make that much, like in today's day and age, when it comes to its box office take, but the merchandising is like, I mean, Star Wars is a religious movement. Jedi is a recognized religion that grows every single year. So that's like a smart move, I think, to give away your content and then allow, and you can recoup it times 10 on merchandising and ticket sales and things like that. Right. And I think we'll see a world, which is what I don't want, which is, hey, you have to pay, and on top of that, we're going to show you ads. Well, what the fuck? That's basically goes against what the theory is of open air waves, and that's not open airways, open airways, airwaves, I should say. Um, like we privatized all these things, but it used to be a big deal for it still is, but like for a television station to have their broadcasting license. And if you didn't like what they did, you could write to them and you could write to the FCC and say, I don't want them to have their license renewed. And they would have to take that seriously. But now that things are like streaming and everything, they're not technically using the airwaves of the public and they can do whatever the hell they want. I just don't like, I don't like the haves and the have-not system that we have. And I think it's in our best interest to give away the content and you recoup everything on the back. But that's just how I feel.
Everything's black and white. It's like you're living in a movie or something. But like the story was about how they were an artist and like they came to understand the world quite differently, and you can see a lot more shadow and light, and you start paying attention to different detail. But I mean, it's just mind-blowing that can happen. It's like the same brain.
Yeah, same brain.
And then you have to completely readjust your experience of reality because now you see the world differently.
I have a friend who got a concussion and lost his sense of smell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for years.
That's probably pretty traumatic.
Well, a lot of people got it during COVID as well, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But he got it through a concussion.
Yeah.
Like way back, like at least 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and lost his sense of smell.
Yeah, that's crazy. I like to, when I started thinking about how people think differently, I was like, I think I was listening to a podcast running one day, and it's like, like imagine an apple and now taste the apple. And I was like, I can imagine an apple. I can see an apple in my brain and I can bite into the apple, but I cannot taste it. I cannot imagine tasting food. And this was really perplexing to me because like, I never thought about the fact that like inside my head, I don't have taste. I only have taste when I'm eating food. I can definitely taste things, but it's like, it's a weird thing about my brain, but like, I don't know how common that is, but I think like everybody has things like that. And if we just do, experiments with our own minds, it's kind of interesting to probe the boundary of like things you take for granted that you think you can do, or you can visualize and you just can't. It's just not in your head.
Well, the sense of smell we take for granted because everybody has it.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's an evolutionary advantage in terms of food being rotten.
Right.
There's much different factors, gases that are poisonous, but it's invisible.
Yeah.
And
do you know if your friend could still imagine smell, or did they lose the ability to even like recall what smells
I haven't
like?
talked to him in years. I have to reach out. I don't even know if he got his smell back.
Yeah,
He's a guy who used to fight in the UFC.
Oh, I see.
And he got knocked out once and lost his sense of smell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Not
Really
good.
crazy. Yeah, no, that's not good.
Not good.
Yeah.
But the idea is that sense of smell we all just take for granted. We have it. Oh my God, you smell that apple pie.
Caspian, UFC 309's tonight? Did you know UFC 309's tonight? We're gonna do our best to stream it, so I'll be doing that like all afternoon. Well, into the evening, but yeah. So be ready for that. It's I think John Jones is fighting for the first time in like forever. You know who John Jones is, right? Yeah. So like, arguably, in my opinion, my opinion comes from Joe Rogan's opinion because it's like he sees more fights than I do. But John Jones is the greatest fighter ever. And it's let me make sure of all this, but maybe I'm wrong on this. Jones versus Miocic. I want to make sure it's the right Jones. Is it John Jones? Which Jones? They keep just calling him Jones. John Jones, yeah. So, a UFC heavyweight. So this is a heavyweight championship, and they haven't had a heavyweight championship since. When was the last UFC heavyweight championship? Okay, so this is the first, according to this, the first heavyweight UFC fight championship since 2021, which is a big deal. The big thing about John Jones is he's basically undefeated. He's lost one time, but the reason why he lost was a disqualification. There's something like that you used to not be able to come down perpendicular with your elbow to someone's head. And like John Jones did it at a little bit of an angle, but they considered it perpendicular and he got disqualified. Aside from that, this motherfucker is he is 27-0 aside from that. So it should be a really interesting fight. I'm excited for it.
Pot. Oh, it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is so exciting. You know, you smell it, you
Yeah.
walk in the house, someone's cooking bacon.
Yeah.
That, we take that for granted. But that is an invisible thing. And who knows how many other things there are like that we don't have. Like, we don't have the ability to detect neutrinos.
Mhm.
You know, imagine if we could feel all the neutrinos passing through us at any given moment,
I'm like
right?
trying to visualize it as you're saying that. I'm like, there's just
Right?
like thousands
I mean,
of them.
they're literally going through the entire
Yeah,
Earth. They're
yeah.
flying through the Earth right now.
Right.
But we don't have the ability to
Yeah.
detect that. But why not?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's a thing that's real that
Yeah.
we don't have the tools for.
Yeah.
But we do have the tools for smell. So we have the
Yeah.
tools to detect gases, but we don't have the tools
Right.
to detect other things that we know are real.
Right. Well, our sensory perception only like.
That's fucking amazing for just nothing. That's wild. Where do you put the buttons? Oh yeah, no, I get that. But you mean like on YouTube and Twitch and stuff? Well, I do have that. I have Buy Me a Coffee, Cash App, I've got PayPal, I've got my Ethereum address, my Bitcoin address, my Solana address. So the ones that I don't have, and I've got Venmo, and I might have some others, but I don't have two of them that you just said. Stripe. Right. I gotcha. Well, yeah, I'm not. I think it's a good idea. It's in my link tree, and yeah. I looked it up when you did it. I looked it up. It was like $40 a year for Rabbi Rothschild, and I was like, well, yeah. So, but
I got 7 years for that.
right, I know, and I thought if it were 7 years, maybe, but 1 year, I don't know if I want to do it. I mean,
No way.
yeah.
No way.
Right after you did it, I thought, oh, that was a great idea. So I did it through that naming service, not even naming service, whatever EAT service is, and
Yeah, the ENS.
exactly, there you go. And it was $42 or something like that. And yeah, and then see, I buy these things and it's great, but I don't use them for a year, and then a year goes by and I got to buy another one and another one, and just
That's
the
the reason why I jumped on the 7 years. I don't have to for, I mean, nice.
oh, that's perfect.
Like it's 7 years from to my birthday, so it's actually 7 years and another 1 year.
That's beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I mean, like, I'll be 40. The day I turn 46, I have about a week to extend it if I haven't already extended it. So I have years before I have to worry about it.
Oh, it's absolutely. You do you, baby.
Like that evolved biologically only took us so far, but like obviously like we're sitting here talking about neutrinos because we have built technologies that can detect their existence
Right.
and validate that they're there, and then we have theories that would be consistent with what you're just saying.
Yeah.
So the ways that we see the world, I guess my point is are not just the biological ones, but they're becoming enhanced by technology in all sorts of ways, and theories and explanations are part of that technological infrastructure, which is
Yes.
why we can talk about that. Our gravitational waves, for example, is another one
Yes.
going through us right now too.
Right. We can't detect them.
Yeah.
We could feel the effects of gravity itself,
Yeah.
you know, but we also know that that's entirely based on mass, right? So we also know that the gravity, like the more weight you have on you, the harder it is for you to get around because you're being
Yeah.
pulled,
That's
which
right.
is bizarre.
Yeah.
And you can use that to your advantage by rucking. You know, you can get in better shape by putting a heavy backpack on, going up a hill. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
So you change your physical structure by
Yeah.
adding weight.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and that's what weightlifting is too,
Yeah.
right? You're changing your physical structure and your ability to
Yeah.
move through space and time by resisting constantly. So developing these biological tools to
Yeah.
get past gravity.
Well, I think it's amazing how much of like the physical world you can get a sense of by simple things like that.
Yeah.
Like we really do live in a physical reality. Like I know some people want to think we live in a simulation, but like there's a real physical world. And I think we only kind of misconceive of it as a simulation because like so much of our environment now is architected by human minds that it seems not real, but it is real.
So you don't subscribe to the possibility of simulation theory?
No, I find it inadequate for a number of reasons. It doesn't seem like it's a better explanation than any other current explanation for how the universe works. So, I put the simulation argument and intelligent design and even sort of the current laws of physics on kind of equal footing as far as their ability to explain why the universe exists the way it does, because what all three theories do is they basically push explanation to the boundary. And in physics, we do that by saying there was an initial state of the universe that was low entropy, and the laws of physics have described what it's done ever since, but you can't explain where the universe came from. And in this, in intelligent design, it's like you can, the universe is, designed by some being, but like, where did that thing come from?
Right.
And in the simulation argument, it's just the great programmer in the sky made us. And I think, the nuance there is like, if any entities like us could evolve that could build simulations, then it's far more likely that we live in a simulation. But I think you still have to assume a physical reality that evolves the capability of building simulations.
Yes.
So it seems all very circular to me.
Yes. Yeah.
And non-explanatory.
Agree. Yeah. I don't understand why people are so confident in stating that, like Elon said, the chances of it not being a simulation are in the billions.
Yeah.
It's like 1 in billions that we are not in a simulation. But he's also crazy.
Well, I think it's easy to throw numbers out there, though, like,
Right.
and not have them be founded in anything.
Right.
And
There has to have been a thing before
Yeah.
the simulation existed in
Yeah.
order for that thing to create the simulation, for
Well,
the simulation to emerge.
It's super interesting also to me that a lot of the people that are proponents of the simulation argument tend to be in like the tech world. And so like I think it's in their favor to think that like, you know, like it's great to think that computers are like gods and like, you know, like, and to build this kind of mysticism around these technologies. But like if you really want an explanation for what simulations are, there has to be a continuity between the physical world and the simulation. And they like, you have to be able to explain how it is that computation emerged on a planet, and simulations became possible on our planet, and like they emerged out of something,
Right.
So I think I'm much more interested in like what is the unification of the virtual and the physical, and like how can you think about them as similar kinds of systems than to just say the universe is a simulation, therefore I solved why the universe exists.
Right.
It doesn't get you anywhere.
It doesn't. And also, well, I always think about the universe itself. We always want to look at a birth of a universe and the end of the universe. And I always say, I wonder if we do that because of our own biological limitations. If we think that a thing had to emerge because we emerged. Like, but why does it have to have emerged? If it exists,
right?
Why didn't it always exist? And but then that's a huge problem. Like,
you can't have everything exist forever.
Right.
Is part of the problem.
So, but what could possibly exist to make everything exist? Which is the other one.
Yeah, the prime mover.
Well, not only that, but the craziest theory of all is the primary theory of the creation of the universe itself, which is the Big Bang theory, which is the absolute nuttiest theory that's ever existed. Everything that exists came out of something so small, was smaller than the head of a pin, and then in one massive moment, it creates the universe itself. And that's one that universally is agreed upon.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
And it seems to be a signature of it, so you can study it.
Yeah, there's no problem with crazy ideas. By the way, I love crazy ideas.
They're the craziest.
Yeah.
But that's the craziest, right?
Yeah. But even going back to the simulation, the Big Bang is I mean, but I think, you know, when you're trying to understand how reality works, it should surprise you. And it should have counterintuitive properties. I mean, I think that's how we really know we're learning things. So, and I'm also of the perspective that I think any theory can be replaced by a better one. Any explanation is not an ultimate explanation. So we're constantly learning more and we're constantly refining our ideas. So
is that a problem in science, in that when people have espoused a very particular idea of how the world works, they have a hard time backing off of that? And
I think collectively, yes. I think scientists have a hard time doing that. And so, I confront this a lot in my work because the kind of ideas we're proposing are new and they say very different things than, you know, sort of the standard canon would say, or like we make, you know, like we're seeing structure that isn't part of the way that people talk scientifically about the nature of life or like its fundamental properties. And what I see is a lot of resistance to new ideas because people think things are already explained. And so this is really funny for me, the origin of life. It's like we already have an evolutionary theory, like the origin of life is solved. And it's like, have you been to a meeting on the origin of life? It's like, that problem is not solved. I'm sorry. But so many people think it is. They just think like it's easy. It's been done. You'll get like really prominent, physicists too, being like, oh, you get the first replicator on a planet and then you get life. And the real hard problems are like, you know, the long-term future of the universe and things. And I think we're reasoning based on assuming absolute knowledge sometimes when we don't have absolute knowledge.
Do you think that some of that sort of trying to define things in a definite way, that we do know it, we understand it, is in response to some religious ideas about the creation of life, and that they propose that these scientific riddles have been solved because if you leave them open, that kind of opens the door to the possibility of a creator or of intelligent design, and they want to kind of rush to say, no, we figured
That's what I've been told by, I mean, because we have a lot of, there's been a lot of reactions to the work that we've been doing, both positive and like, interacting with people's dogmas in certain ways. So they're like very reactionary. And then some people that are much more thoughtful and critical. And then some people that are very not thoughtful, but very critical. And So you get like the whole spectrum. And I guess if you do any kind of high profile science, you're going to get everything thrown at you. And part of the reason that I want the ideas out there is because I want that critical feedback. So that's fine. If it's, intelligent feedback, that's amazing. But I think the thing that I've noticed is that the way that different communities interact with the ideas are totally different. So it's like, the evolutionary biologists, were some of them, not all of them, you can't make blatant statements about any group, really don't understand what we're trying to do. And then, but the creationists don't either, and they don't want it either. So it's like you're in this weird space and they're dealing with each other because they think they have totally different explanations for things. So, but yeah, I have been told that
My ADD is like in full swing.
You're good. Okay, so I did something. I was noticing, like, I'm just not getting any traction on Kick anymore, and it's not because it's a mixture of things. I keep checking to see whenever I create an account, how long does it take me to get banned? And usually it would take me like an hour or 2 hours, and they've got me down to a science. It's like 8 minutes. Boom, 8 minutes they got me. So and I get it. I literally told the owner of the platform, dog, all my names start with join Rabbi's Discord. So it's very easy to find me, very easy to just go through, and wherever it says join Rabbi's Discord, delete it. So I changed the bot, and I'm just testing it right now. But it seems to be working thus far pretty well. And it's now just giving a random username. So what that does is it makes it difficult to find whatever account I'm using, because the account's like Milky Way grasshopper dog, and it'll just be like, oh, okay. And I'm going to see how long it takes them to ban them now. So I'm running a little bit of a test. And then also, if you ever have a chance to watch anybody stream, it, in my opinion, should be Eddie Craven's stream. He's the owner of Kick, and so it's going on right now. He has them every Saturday about this time. So I'm just watching it, and he's got the guy who, that I was accused of sending a guy a middle finger. Do you remember this? That's true. That's absolutely true. But actually, he's the head admin at Kick. He accused me of sending him a middle finger. It's like, dude, I would not look up your address and send you a middle finger. That's just not how I operate. And I made like a bunch of videos for him to make sure he was aware that, the what? No, not like that. No, it was a candle. No, it was just a candle. No, it was a middle finger candle. But so that guy's, and I really like him. His name is, he goes by Santa Maria. I think he's very, very smart, and I tell him that a lot. He is. He's former Amazon. He's the top guy at Kick, and right now they're in the middle of their discussion. So I'm just listening to that. But no worries. You do you.
Do you mind if can we try something really quick?
Go for it.
So if you see, I'm wearing this beanie. There's headphones inside this beanie.
Cool.
And it looks like my computer's trying to tell me there's a microphone in here too. So let me try this really quick.
Sure. Absolutely.
Now, do you hear me right now?
Yeah, it definitely is different.
It's definitely different. Okay, wow. So the quality went down, right?
It's different. It's like the other one, it was more like the microphone was in front of you. This one, it's kind of like it's picking up off the walls into it. Yeah. But I mean, you still sound great.
Now, using the microphone and things that actually reduces the audio quality. So I'm going to switch to the microphone.
Okay, you just switched.
I sound better to you, and you sound better to me.
Go put the things on and walk to the back of the room if you can, and like turn around and talk to the wall.
What do you think?
Oh wow, it's really clear.
It's really clear, right?
Yeah,
Like as far as this was really nice.
really, really clear.
If I'm right in front of if I'm right in front, then the quality may have dropped. But as far as for me, I got on my side. So if I'm using the microphone, the audio quality is mine here. So that's the obviously I'm using more power. It's a small battery.
Right.
So but that's really good to know. I did not know you have a microphone, which makes you even more powerful when I'm walking around using my phone.
Yeah.
You go out on the phone, but I have studio headphones that I can use.
Right.
I have a better microphone, I have a better headphone that I can use for teaching, but this being is better.
Definitely, and I can hear what you're saying, and it's not worse. It's just different. So, yeah, but especially if I can be honest with you, sometimes you are far from the microphone, and it's a little hard to hear you. But it's never been an issue.
I have too many microphones, but then I need to I have multiple, so I have to always be switching back and forth. Sometimes I think I'm using my HD microphone. It turns out I'm using my microphone connected to the webcam. Now I have the Bluetooth one. I have a little buffer here, but it's not filling that out.
But I think it's very good.
I've got one of these wine runners that I use for like polishing glasses and cover.
Okay.
So I use like a $50 craft just for this. It's like the perfect microfiber for polishing like super fine crystal negative for my glasses.
Oh yeah, no, they're perfect for that.
They're phenomenal. It's very cool.
Yeah, if you just have to be careful when you wash them not to use like fabric softener, or it'll get it all messed up.
Yep. Oh, and with the light here too.
Very cool. I bet those would be really cool for like running outside or something.
Yeah, exactly. I start trying to transfer it, so it's been too long. Been eating up that. Now I have everything organized here. For this page I have, the hard part is because I wrote it and failed.
Right.
It's not like the most organized. I kind of had to write whenever I was able to write because I had something to write about. So, like some of the days are like partly here, partly here. So the first 2 weeks are going to be really hard to organize into a cohesion. But then the last week, which is the majority of it, that's pretty cut and dry in a good way. This part will take me a while, but I do have I'm writing it in a couple of pages.
Okay.
So like I already put like a little just temporary. You picture for the cover and everything. It's kind of like a free bamboo jungle. So
Cool.
It's like
I see. Have you ever heard of bamboo torture?
yeah, I have. And that's the other reason why when I was in there I drew a bamboo forest on the back of the book.
Very cool.
Drawing bamboo instead of thinking bamboo torture where they stick it underneath your fingernails, right?
No, that's a way. But actually, bamboo grows so quickly that if you put someone over a bed of bamboo, within like a day, it will split them from the back. So like basically, if you tie someone's arms and legs like this over bamboo, it will grow and actually pierce through you. Yeah, I know what you're talking about with the underneath the fingernails, like they did in World War II with the Japanese and Vietnam and stuff. There's that too, but it's. Let me make sure I'm referencing it correctly, because when you said underneath the fingernails, that's kind of where my mind went first. What is bamboo torture?
When you're looking at us, I'm going to test how this is.
Bamboo torture is a form of torture and execution where bamboo shoots grow through the body of a victim. So the one that goes through you is, yeah. Yep.
There's a microphone here too. But I don't know. So,
Very cool.
So I'll probably go pick up my inversion table later today.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully pretty soon. My friend Lake goes and be like, yeah, come over. And then once I get my inversion table back, I think my health will start getting better pretty rapidly because hanging upside down, I've never experienced anything that makes me feel better. And I know it's weird, but just like reversing gravity for a couple minutes a day, like dude, it helped me weight heavy. Like I put on 45 pounds a year, bro. Like I'll tell you what, just like you don't look like this after putting on 45 pounds. I feel like I must have been on that, but not as bad as I thought.
Well, hopefully your table makes you feel better. I think that the more normalcy that you get in your life, the better. So, and I think you have an amazing friend who kept that table for you for that long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. He's been a good friend for years. So, it's tough to find, good friends, especially, I'll tell you what the hardest part is, Rabbi. He's become closer to me than all his old friends. And I don't mean that in any kind of negative towards these friends in a way.
We just spend so much time with each other. We just spend so much time with each other. We've been on like a sleepover for like 5 months. I mean, very close, very similar to being a roommate with someone. And frankly, I love it. I quite enjoy your friendship.
And some these guys are great guys, but I've been with 25 years, some of them has like, I can tell that we're all very different people than when we started. Like, we don't have as much in common.
Right.
Like, when you and I are in conversations, like, if I'm ever, like, spacing out of conversation, it's not because I think it's boring anyway, because I have bad if I'm ever spacing out around them, it's because I'm kind of got to a point in my life where, unfortunately, I've known them a long time, and there's no stories, there's nothing new going on in their life.
Right.
But, you know what I mean? We're just growing apart in different places. Like, not just like I only want the people I love to have them, but like, I feel bad because my anxiety makes me want to be like, hey, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. It's been 15 minutes. I want to go home.
Right. I get that. Well,
but I get like when Alex shows up, I'm like, yeah, I'll go hang out. We're all mean to each other.
right.
I don't know.
Right. Isn't that weird? I think I told you that one guy with his accent. Not Frosty. No. That I forget his name. The guy you timed out.
Yeah, and again, I know he comes to chat with you. The only reason that I timed him out is because it's like, look,
I get it. No. I get it. You don't have to justify it. I heard the conversation. He's making racist remarks. He's saying that he's going to come kill somebody. I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, no worries there. And
Well, every time I've been around it, he shows up. He ends up having like altercations.
with someone. Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you there.
That was kind of like the only thing. And then it was like it was, you know, all these other people were showing up like that are like, hey, I can tell by your voice. And by the way, you talk. We're from down the road from each other. And then he gets all angry about it. Like, dude, you're the one who's coming in here with a British accent. Don't get all racist against British people.
I know. Well, his British accent is like the absolute best British accent I've ever heard of someone who was born in the United States. It's like, huh? Like it's
I'm
like
called Cap. I'm not called Cap. I'm sorry. I'm pretty dumb kid terminology that's probably a month old and in the ground, but I'm called Cap because I think this guy. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but everything I've heard him say about himself doesn't add up. Don't believe for say he's a bounty hunter.
wait. I that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother realm of his. Where
That's
he
what I'm saying.
no, I completely understand that one. I
Here's the guy that I knew through it. And my friend, you saw a couple of episodes of the podcast, but my co-host of the show, he's a black guy.
uh-huh.
Big black dude.
Uh-huh.
But two, maybe but one, you can call it a anyway, so there's this guy that was hanging out when we were younger, like in our teens. And this guy was 5 foot nothing, 95 pounds soaking wet, and was wearing double steel toes. And this guy one day starts like saying, "Oh yeah, we're here. We got first of all, we're not second meeting. We're all in our like mid to late teens, so we don't have like a testosterone development. Mine is really like, well, like you're not going to become a fucking Mr. Universe bodybuilder for 48 years. Or for fuck's sake, you can get jacked, good, sure, but like don't be 4 foot tall. Don't be 5 foot tall. No one 6 foot plus black guys with no possible that you need to be bigger than him.
Oh, whoa, no way. No, your co-host is a big dude.
But like one, he's a head and a half taller than you. He's got 150 pounds on him. There was never a time in your life you were heavier or bigger or anything.
Right.
And then it's like if we're all trying to be friends, you're like, I just got introduced to them as a child. My way of making friends is like, oh, I'm gonna challenge Rabbi. I gotta be taking this draft that night. Again, that's not what friends do. You don't need to challenge each other. We're not fucking you know, you need to wrestle to prove who's the dominant male in the group.
Right.
Okay. I mean, that was it.
Yeah, no, that's not that doesn't make too much sense.
really great for things like, reliability monitoring, enhancing sort of DevOps. Like there's a lot of areas of tech that people work better, but in terms of kind of this feature parity that we're talking about, creating an incredible user experience. A lot of this does connect down to certain areas which can't be solved with just two bodies on it. But it's going to be the right bodies, right? It's very much the right bodies. It's the right bodies, especially when you're very particular about how you want something built. But our goal is, we are a tech company in our right, and having those abilities to be able to move really, really quickly and have the right team in place to tackle the right problems is great. It has been frustrating. We haven't been able to get stuff done quicker, but I think that's what we're doing is also getting ourselves ready to have that kind of operational readiness to be able to move at the speed we want to and learn the right opportunities for us. And it's all learning curves. As he said, there's other, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok even, that they've been around for like 15, 20 years almost, right? So they've got, huge backlog of technology, huge backlog of incredible developers that understand that, they've got great systems in place on how to scale that out. It's stuff that we've had to put in place from the ground up. That's the big thing about Kick. We don't outsource anything. Nothing is outsourced whatsoever. Everything is built from the ground up in-house. Like, ultimately, there'll be shortcuts we can take, a lot of shortcuts we can take, but that's not a long-term solution. It comes back to something here again. I always think sort of, the whole team, you always think, this next 2, 5, 10 years, it's not like just to it's about taking this stuff to a level. But to answer your question, man, it does suck that they come in and want this, and it's up and ready. We're working on where you can scale things up, but it's about having the right process in place. The right foundation is are you finding that all? Because surely you're looking, and surely people have to be reaching out. They got to see the growth. I'm sure nobody doesn't want to not have a job offer in the tech space with something like this, because you guys are making moves. You find it pretty common of like, man, if we had the right person for this position, but they live in this part of the world, and we can't get them in the areas where we currently have. You guys ever run into that problem? Where like like you said, not throwing bodies at them, throwing the right minds at the particular situation to take lead in whatever that department is. Like the great example is you have Paulie, right? Which is like the secret fucking Ray that built the start of what he is. And for Andrew here, who is obviously you're in Georgia, right? Typically, right, Andrew? Same friend. Or wherever. But these typically, there are these two guys oversees so much over here, and that log and delay from that, 24-hour time frame between Cali to Boise, what's the time difference? You're thinking of traveling, and it takes 24 hours to travel. I think it's like a 12-hour, okay, 12 hour, that's fine. And by the way, fucking daylight savings time. Right, man, fuck yeah, between the two. I literally went to bed fucking 6 hours ago after the fights last night. This guy contacts me at 6 in the fucking morning. Hey, my bad. Miscommunication, daylight savings. Well, okay, that's let's use that. Let's use that right there. That's enough. It's all day. I know. That. Let's use that as a great example of what I'm trying to ask, because I think it's one of your guys' biggest problems. That fucking offer because now you're a month behind. Now you're a fucking year behind. Because you got to play catch up in the technology that you have. You got to fix the bugs that you already have. 2 years no good day behind. We still got chat crashes left and fucking right. We still got notification issues. These are the real problems. One kid, I don't give a fuck about the what are you doing to push people on the fucking front page. I don't care about the clickbait shit. The quality of the product is the most important thing. We get these big brands over, we get these big names over, and you get Weston Chapman, who's got 3 million subs on YouTube, and people are used to that fluid piece of tech where they just come, they consume, and the next thing you know, they're coming to kick on their own accord because they heard good, great things, they can do all these things. Next thing you know, 50% of the people can't even operate the fucking chat on the mobile. Like, Jay, at what point is it clear that that buffer function? Like, are you stressed about that? Or like, I guess I want to know for my own peace of mind that surely, I know you're a smart guy. I think people just don't understand how well you build your business. But I know you're not that ignorant. See, I think these are huge red flags, right?
Yeah, no, Biggie, you know, a simple report will say notification not reaching the customer, that's not acceptable. Any level of technical issue is not acceptable. And yeah, I'll go back to you know, our business full kickstake, right? It runs perfectly, right? That's the level of accuracy, of detail that we want to address, right? Everything is, runs incredibly smooth. There isn't a single problem you can think of. Everything is addressed in triage, right? So an average of it happening. That's where kick should be as well. That is certainly where kick should be. Like you mentioned before, when you have issues, you have to play catch up with those issues. And what we refer to as technical debt, you kind of have to always go and resolve. We've all dealt with that, right? I think you mentioned like the time zone stuff. I don't think that's too much of a problem issue, right? Like, for example, we pretty much every tech company runs this one. Like if there's like what we call like a P0 issue, like downtime, or P1 issue, which is like bug, which is heavily affecting those customers. Instantly the team's paged and they'll be like, they'll wake up and solve it, right? Obviously, if it's like a smaller issue which isn't impacting everyone, instead of waiting until it wakes up, it depends on the severity. But you mentioned before in terms of just like the application, any kind of bugs that you're facing. I think that's all inactive with our content is in a really good position. I'm incredibly confident. Obviously, just by where Kick could be if it had that technology in place from the get-go is obviously a little bit upsetting. Like I certainly look at it and go like, fuck, maybe what if we waited 18 months, got the team fully ready, had the app, had everyone got a network full ahead. We come to us and say, hey, look, what if we did that? But I don't think that would be the best way to go. I think we seized an opportunity. We seized an opportunity at the right time when Twitch suddenly moved down to 50% rev share. People were pretty upset about that. Kick came in and it was the right time, the right place, and it flew up very quickly. I think if we sat back and waited 18 months or 2 years or 3 years to build everything perfectly, then I don't think the time would be right. So, there's no regrets on that front. At the end of the day, building great technology takes time. There is no shortcuts. You can't just hire 1,000 people and they go like, this way. Even if we somehow want to say 1,000 engineers from Microsoft, Amazon, whatever for a company, and just say, guys, fix the app. And guys, fix it. And it doesn't work like that. Right, tech guys do that. Right, so all those issues you mentioned, it's not like I sit back and go, independent notifications issues. That's not a problem. You ain't crashing, that's not a problem. It fucking stresses me out, man. It does. I say, I'm not going to hang it up. I like to set perfections, right? Unless something is perfect, I'm not happy. That's kind of where Kick should be at. But sometimes you've also got to slow down and understand that these things can't be fixed overnight, and that there is also a different thing to do. So everything you mentioned there is in a really, really good position. We have a really good team at the moment. I'm very, very confident that we're going to fulfill that. And if I wasn't confident, I would still be investing more and more in this one, because I know for a fact if you don't solve a problem, everything else is not worth it, right? Because that is at the end of the day what people want to consume. They consume the product. So the product is the backbone of everything. think the perception might be that, hey, look, these guys are like accepting the fact that things aren't perfect, but that's not the case at all, right? You know, we've got to start kind of relaying and talking about timelines and deadlines. I think early on it came kind of like, hey, look, you know, this day, this is happening, and everyone's like, hell yeah, it's happening. So we can just we've got to use some kind of action, like, we're just going to stay quiet, we're just going to, you know, keep things going. We're not going to communicate stuff so much in the background, everything's moving, and then, you know, just like the TV app drop, like the TV app came out again, you mentioned, like, hey, look, things are not the scratch. The TV app's like this one very recently, which I think is very high quality. We spent a good hard.
As you said, I was going to ask, is it pretty good? Are you guys pretty happy with that?
If you want to use any other like TV app that came out, I think there's like the X TV app. Put them side by side. This is so much better. Even put Twitch's TV app side by side. Honestly, I may be biased here, but it's miles better. And that's again the set that we're going to set. That's the set I want to set. Like when we launch our next mobile app, that's the set I want to set. We're not going for lower than that. So it's about getting things done right. You know, kind of measure twice, cut once, opposed to kind of just fucking set that and hang out. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you know, and it's like funny. I know I gash up YouTube a lot, but it's I just think it's one of the easier transitioning platforms for new people because of the algorithm. It's just one of the most simple things. But it's like what you just said right there. The thing about all the sites, even after these last few years, after I left Twitch to go to YouTube and start streaming, and I discovered actually enjoying watching live streams as well on the TV. I stopped watching all Twitch streams because I realized how dog shit that fucking application actually was. How bad it was. Just how smooth and fluid. So anytime, I just want to give you guys, I don't want to give you guys the wrong impression that I don't respect what you guys are doing, and I don't think you're doing well. I don't think you honestly get the credit for what you guys deserve. That's not just gassing you guys up or filling your ass with blood or anything. Because yeah, you're competing against these big guys. I just like to use the easiest example and where you guys could fucking really. I mean, that's what every tech company does. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. There's no reason for you guys to try to come up with something new and creative that's never ever been done before. It's all about, I think, the key thing, right? Making the user experience the best. And that's why I like to use YouTube so much as an example because it just fucking works. It may not have the things that we're, the fluffy stuff that we're used to, but it just gets the fucking job done and nobody has to question it. It's just there and it exists. You know what I mean? So just for reassurance, I don't shit on you guys. You're never gonna be YouTube. It's more this idea of like artist power, like the sweet things that they get done right.
Yeah, I agree. That's what we aim for. I think I don't think it's impossible to get to that point. I don't think it is by any means. You know, I think we can pull it off. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. And you know, you mentioned Crow, right? I also said the Crow is like, hey, Crow, like, you know, to kind of pull this back at you. You know, I kind of asked him like, hey, look, you know, if we did some of this sort of stuff out, what would happen if we kick? You know, where would it end up going? And you know, he was like, that way. There's no reason why it's not going to work to levels which, you know, me and the rest of the team feel very much acceptable, right? So I do feel like it's asking about right now. And it's not about, yeah, like I said, it's not about going out and reinventing the wheel, right? We don't have to come up with these crazy new, you know, ideas. Sure, there's innovation in the industry that surely can be harnessed. I think that it's been a bit stale for a while, but of course we're not chasing that until we get the low-hanging fruit. So, man, Loudon, can you add clear on that front, like where you've been there, honestly working around that? And one thing as well, you know, you always take you at songs, right? Yeah. And how's your experience in that?
Good. After I learned about ears and double J's and everything, yeah, pretty fucking good. I enjoy it. Oh, from the product, it's good. It's fun. It works. State US was not my first ever deal, so I did get to have experience when I was on YouTube with another company. Obviously, I couldn't name their names, but
going to settle for having a bad customer experience. We want a great customer experience. So again, it's better than that. It's better. They do well. Yeah. And that is, so go ahead to double down on this. Like we've said this a lot on TikTok is that we grew really fast and we were very eager and shit started getting built and we had to pause. And then he looked at us and said, "Hey, well, we got to make a better base, right? It doesn't mean that we did anything wrong. It just meant that we were moving a mile a minute, right? And it was important that we kept building on this base. That we had to restructure the base, rebuild it so that it comes out stronger to the quality that steak is, right? And I'm glad this point has been made because." It's almost like saying, like, what is your resume? And he's clearly pointing to the steak. It's like, hey, and I 100% agree with that as a person who is new to the EasyGo ecosystem, relatively new. I know I'm 2 years in, right? But that's the same one thing that I kept pointing to when I was evaluating whether I wanted to leave a company like Amazon and come over here. I was like, holy shit, these guys are cooking in a space that is absolutely booming, and they're leading it, right? And so, from a family man and a businessman perspective, it gave me a lot of confidence to make a move where a lot of my coworkers were like, "Are you crazy? Are you nuts?" And it's kind of like, wait a minute, like, look at the product that they've been putting out. And so, I just want to give it a different side to this that pausing, resetting, and then looking at something like what the TV app is now and what steak is, that's just a prelude of what you guys can expect. Yeah. Because I think a big thing that a lot of creators are catching on to, I think it's, which side note, I told Andrew, by the way, first time we've ever had a conversation, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you, Eddie, I feel like your guys' biggest challenge in the terms of a creator standpoint is every creator's lost trust in platforms. You guys came along during a time where it's unfortunate, but Twitch has burned so many people. YouTube has cut people out of ad rev. Facebook fucked an entire group of people that they invested all this money to that now live and then blamed them for their shortfall. TikTok fucked so many people over with guessing their shit for the inflation of getting Russian dopamine to make that go viral and then just absolutely shut people's pages down. People don't fucking trust platforms. They don't believe half the shit. Which is unfortunate. But I think that's really from a creator standpoint, I think that you guys have the biggest challenge. When you say, I've heard you say time and time, like, trust us, we're going to innovate, we're going to change the tech space. You just got to understand, it's not anything you're doing wrong. We've heard it. We've heard it time and time again. You show us shit. We're not going to believe you at this point. We're going to be wary. KCIP is insane at some points. Sometimes it's not. Some people have different experiences. And but one thing that I've noticed is even if you have a good experience with KCIP, the amount of creators after I made a video talking about multi-streaming chatbots and stuff. They're like verification. And we're just going to turn it back. Again, it's not like, hey, fucking banning you. It's just like, please just do the right thing and try to come corners and get there eventually. But again, there's a whole multitude of reasons as well. And we want to verify, we want to get as many people case out as possible. It's like, one of our main metrics of success right now is getting as many people through the door. So, it's in our best interest to let as much slide as possible. At the same time, we also have to protect the authenticity and the value and stuff like verification, and also ensure that we do have those standards of KCMP that's fair across everyone. So, it is complicated there. But again, we talked about like building trust. I think the way we build trust is why we just continue to not give you a reason not to trust us, right? Like, sure, other platforms are kind of, screaming like we've got, but I don't think Keep has done that yet. So, until that happens, I think that's a good reason. But, I think, as time goes on, as Keep becomes more mature, as people start to realize, hey, look, this thing's here to stay, as long as we keep having, like, hey, public chats here, ask these kind of questions. Maybe not answer it. You're on here right now, maybe we ask you for like questions up front or anything. Is there any kind of like,
absolutely not. No, I mean, conspiracy theorists out there will be saying different from everything. This whole thing was created pre-recorded. The other thing is like, so yeah, we have people on here weekly, right? Like, and if, like, yeah, we'll just ask you, like, have we screwed that? Like, have there been a large swath of what you can point to with YouTube or what you can point to with Twitter? Yeah. Like, has there been, like, well, that's, and the point being is not to say, hey, you haven't done enough yet. I'm more so articulating the concept of, like, you gotta understand, people are just gonna, like, they've been in shitty relationships with these platforms time and time again, so they're still gonna create, human beings self-sabotage all the time, and being in this line of work is stressful. You accommodate, especially when you go full-time, you accommodate to a certain rate of living, analyze things in like that emotion, like what you guys were saying, this idea of like, and I agree, I think you're showing us shit. People yap all the time about where they paint this picture with you guys, but this conversation right here is a prime example. The fact that this site exists, I think, is a prime example. This delusion of people thinking that you even needed to start this in the first fucking place. Like, Steak needed this fucking site. Steak was a multi-fucking billion. You're probably losing more money out the fucking ass running this shit. Sometimes I don't even know why you fucking do it. Get all the backlash, but you're built different. That's fine. So, like, I get it. And that's why I had my back off phase where I'm just like, oh, dude. I mean, it's going good, but like, I don't want to rely on this. That's the Twitch fear. I don't want to fucking rely on this. And then come out with a shitty update and then tell me that you're going to take more of my shit. And I believe you, but like, we've been fucked. We've been cheated on by our platforms. We've been belittled. We've been shit on. So it's like, it's not necessarily you guys fucking suck. Prove it to us. I know you are. But, just from a creator standpoint, it's going to be a slow fucking build. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a slow journey.
Well, I think that's it. I think we came into this live stream on space. I'm not gonna lie, we were gonna be a little bit overconfident. We're like, oh yeah, it's easy. It's kind of like good stuff. Maybe some of your big names and that kind of stuff. But it takes time. The reality is, it's been a long time. It's been like over since like social media websites has been taken. Because TikTok is kind of 5 years, but they've never been around for 15. So, but it really has been, it's been over a decade. I don't think anyone has actually managed to break in as like a competitive social media site. So it is incredibly hard. But the only way to get through this is through time. And time's going to be tough. You need time to build that trust, to reinforce that, hey, these are our values. This is what we're going to do. So, I think ultimately, it comes down to us to just continue doing right by you guys. That's the only way we learn from trust.
Yeah, I agree. What about you? Use your experience, you guys. I think you guys have done a good job to try to show at least a little bit, a lot. I mean, the fact that every fucking media in our community wasn't all over the fact that you guys are the first platform to say you can have weekly day out. It's literally for me at my size, it's a weekly day out. It's insane. It's fucking insane.
It's not only that, man. It's not like the 95.5 should have been a bigger free.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fact that we have a toggle switch that lets you run the casino, radio or chat, and then another platform turns around and builds on their own results like that. The fact that we came out and we have a TOS and allows people to be an adult, then we push other sites to adapt that TOS. The fact that these things have now been made more of a bigger headline and talked about within the industry, like this keeps going back and back and back and back and back. But there's going to come a day, man, when King is in its prime, where people are going to start looking back and people are going to start writing articles on this. People are going to start plotting the cornerstone pillars, whatever you want to call them, that has been developed here. KCIP, when it was launched, man, like, again, that stuff, not as celebrated here. It's celebrated within the community, right? It's celebrated within the inside baseball stuff. Like everyone, all the creators know about it. And everyone, when I'm IRL, people pull me to the side, they want to learn more about things, blah, blah, blah. But as far as industry leading, people that are in the back pocket of different conglomerates, they suppress. They don't talk about these stories. They don't talk about the lives that are being changed in their case, right? They don't talk about what weekly payout actually does for the creator if they don't do those things. So in one critique that I might have is on myself, like what I would like our social team to do more of is like, I think we put out a tweet about like weekly payouts once, and then that's it, right? Like I think internally we should be celebrating that, like once a quarter. Hey, and by the way, we 95.5 is still the best in the market. By the way, I Mr. Twitter guy himself, I actually love your guys' staff when they come over. But I told Mr. Twitter guy, I know he's gonna watch this, buddy. I even said, I was like, you guys need a campaign like every fucking other site in the world doesn't just fucking say, hey, that one-time thing, one-time update, and you gotta push it down everybody's fucking throat. Show that it is a piece of product, in my opinion. I'm looking at I agree with you. I honestly don't like the way that we continue to be good at how we I don't think it's bad just one-upping competitors. Like, hey, look, we're better than you. It really is like about how do we grow the launch space. It's kind of like where our mindset is. We know for a fact that in 90% distance checking will happen. That's in my head already kind of completed. Like next step is like how do we actually the content creation industry bigger? Like how do we make it live streaming actions? Again, it's about kind of like celebrating. Hey, look, we got this and these guys. But again, we want to kind of go like how do we get other people like outside of live streaming into live streaming? That's our vision. Like, our mission isn't to bring people from other industries. In fact, that's a short-term play. The long-term play here is to make live streaming something that is for other people. So, I think that's maybe why we don't focus on that too much at the moment. It's going to be a change of direction. But yeah, I get it, but to be fair, we probably should be communicating.
With that, are you guys trying to make more of a pivot to really hunker down on user experience to make sure that side of the quality of life? Because, like, again, I think you guys have actually done a good job with creator type things. But is there any plans on I guess the best way, like you're gonna use comparisons in this, like your community points. So you got like how long has it been since we've been talking about kicks or whatever that's gonna be, or was there like a giga chat or something at one point that was like teased like a year and a half ago? Like, so what kind of do you have anything that's coming? Can you say anything that's coming in terms of like the viewer earning the right to be here?
Anything that It's like behind the scenes stuff. What's you had mentioned just for like a brief moment to Crow about like actually putting something in America. What does that look like? Yeah, no, it's an initiative. Is it just server? Yeah. So there's, to be fair, so in North Carolina, it's popular. So there's a lot of really great iOS, Android. There's great creators in North Carolina too. App development, the kind of device stuff is incredibly. Yeah, a whole bunch of talent there, which we couldn't zoom in on. There was a good opportunity there. So again, I think it's about understanding like, hey, what do you want to actually solve? Sort of, location there. I think if you just go ahead and put the location there for the sake of hiring the people, then we'll figure out what to do with it. Just hope that also and figure out the best way to go about it. So it's more about finding a specific issue and pushing towards how that can be solved. I'm from North Carolina, so when he said that was something that like resonated hard with me because I'm like, what a convenience that be. I mean, maybe let me know. I'll go shopping for you. I'll find the property. We'll put a big warehouse here. We'll do like a kid fantasy factory. You can just have everybody do IRL events there. Just an idea. Just the thought process on that. Get on over here. Get a team going over here. Make Paulie have to move up here. Make Andrew have to move over here. Yeah, no, I think we could. I think that's definitely an opportunity for that. But yeah, I think it's not just about saying like North Carolina. I think it's about finding many places which make sense. That's expanding out, having I think you mentioned this as well, right? As long as there's more people online and available, it helps solve these kind of problems. To a extent, it's going to be really beneficial. Whether that's in say somewhere in Europe, whether that's in America, South America. Resourcing is at the end of the day what is key. It's a bunch of people, right? It's human resources and engineers and operations staff. It's the people behind King that truly make it. So making sure that we have more funnels, more opportunities to bring great people who are passionate about making a website into a better place and passionate about streaming is going to be great. So I think we'd be naive if we didn't realize we contribute to create something real special about it. Yeah, North Carolina is going to be hitting it. I'm looking forward to that. Give me an excuse to get out there, North America. Yeah, come on over. Yeah. What do you plan on coming to the events and that? I know it's just a small question, but you plan on traveling over for anything specific in the next year or so? I reckon any dream hacks, even that most recent dream hack Atlanta one was I saw like how big and how epic that was and how many people that are going to move there. I wish I was there because I had that real fear of missing out. So I reckon to sneak on over there. I know too, but I just want to I know you don't have too long, but it's 10 minutes.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, and believe it or not, like we're an hour and 20 minutes into this. Like we have flying by. This shit flies by. Absolutely. Yeah, that's why it's like one important thing that I really wanted to ask, and I want to start pressing with you guys. And I think it's where Twitch like fumbled a huge role to kind of like what you said, really compete, be held at the same standard and level of representation of social media sites. Because just being a streaming site, I don't think allows that. Like, how do you create that environment where, like you said, you persuade new people that have never seen streams before to want to come over? Any plans at all?
Welcome. How you living? Glad that you're here. Shout out to Caddy Pants. How are you? Hope you're well. How'd you hear about me? Oh, amazing. Shout out to Aiden Ross. Shout out to his server. Yeah, I've been live in there for like 6 months. Caddy Pants, do you know anything about me? Word, dog. Absolutely. I have more data online than any person in global history. Do you mind if I tell you a little bit more about myself? Excellent. All right, so I'm Rabbi Rothschild. I stream 24/7 for world peace. I don't want war anymore. I've been doing this now for more than 3 years. It goes back to the pandemic. We've seen the death of a queen, the birth of AI, the coronation of a king, and everything in between. We talk about some things on the stream that aren't normally discussed, things like anti-gravity, antimatter, life extension technology through human growth hormone, through stem cells, through perhaps ambrosia therapy, using the platelets of young people for the benefit of older people, the idea of using nootropics and cryogenics, all kinds of things are going to get you catty pants past age 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, but eventually your body's going to start to break down. That's where the next kind of technology comes in. Catty pants, has anybody ever told you that they don't think you're going to die? Excellent. Well, I have the privilege of being the first person to tell you that. And I really mean this. Why? There's a type of technology that is known as mind uploading technology, where we scan your brain, your central nervous system, and your peripheral nervous system into a computer for later download as an android, an avatar, a clone of yourself, a cyborg, a cybernetic being, a robot, an ethereal being, whatever you want to be. What I'm telling you is basically you have the opportunity at perhaps digital immortality, which is a really exciting future. And if you're like, well, Rabbi, I'm just a normal person, and that's going to be really expensive. No need to worry. I have more data than any person on Earth. Right now, you're live on 8 different YouTubes. You're live on 8 different Twitches. You're live on 8 different Rumbles, 8 different of all the major streaming services. And I can tell you that data is Earth's #1 resource. Bill Gates coined the phrase in the 1990s, content is king, and I'm making it true today. The Economist magazine stated in 2018 that data had overtaken petroleum as Earth's #1 resource. So, and I have more data online than any person. So I'm going to be able to monetize that, hopefully. And when I do, I'm going to make Catty Pants all of your dreams come true. You're going to be able to make every girl who had a crush on you or you had a crush on in elementary school, they're all going to want you. All your friends, you're going to be able to help all of them. You're going to be able to pay off all your family, pay off anything that they have, and allow them to start. You're going to be able to start your own philanthropic organizations, your own charities, and I want to help bring world peace to the world. And the way I'm going to do it is through data. How's that sound to you, Catty Pants? It's all data. But data is Earth's #1 resource. It's more valuable than food, water, petroleum, gold, diamonds, and I have more data than anybody. Essentially, what people will be able to do is study this in the future. For more than just, hey, it's Rabbi on a bunch of different streams, people will be able to study my circadian movement, my circadian rhythm, my movement, my behavior, my emotions, my eating habits, my sleeping habits, my bathing habits, my hygienic characteristics, everything about the human body we'll be able to study. And then eventually we're going to be able to put augmented reality on this. You'll be able to see what the temperature is, what the dew point is, what the humidity is. You'll be able to see how many breaths per second I take, how many blinks per second I take. When I do anything, essentially, I might be the most studied person in global history. This is essentially a real-life Truman Show. And I know it may seem like, hey, that sounds like a good plan. How long till you go viral? And it really could happen at any time. I've got many different devices. I'll show you what I've got going on in a second. Just one moment. I'll pull it up. I am live in many different Discords, like at least 12 different Discords. I'm live on 8 different YouTubes. I'm live on, just one moment, I'll read them to you. I'm live on Twitch. I'm live on eight different Twitches, 8 different Rumbles. I'm live on Twitter, TikTok, Africa TV, which is big in South. You think would be big in Africa, but it's really big in South Korea. I'm live on Instagram. I'm live on 12 different Discords. I'm live on Bigo Live, Loco TV, Nemo TV, No Live. I'm live on D Live, YouNow, Breakers TV, Trovo, Vault, Odyssey, FC2 Live, Arena TV. I have over 100 YouTube accounts. I have over 200 Instagram accounts. I have over 300 Twitch accounts. I have over 1,000 TikTok accounts. I have over 2,000 Twitter accounts and over 10,000 Kick accounts. So basically, I have more social media than any person ever. And if you're like, well, like, do they have content? Every single one of these has some kind of content, essentially. And one of these days, we're going to go viral. I mean, I started this 3 years ago. I didn't have anybody behind me, no community. It's all been individually funded. And at this point, we've got 1,400 people in a very strong Discord. We've got people in here 24 hours a day. And it's really exciting. And I just started this Discord this summer. So it's only been going a few months. And you see the kind of results that we've had. And I just want you to know that I really want to help you and your friends and family in the future if you want that help. And when this goes viral, I'm recorded as saying this. We're going to help Caddy Pants and with everything that you want to do. How's that sound? Excellent. So if you're wondering what we're doing right now, we're watching Joe Rogan. If you know who Joe Rogan is, I stream Joe Rogan. I'm in the middle of a Joe Rogan marathon. So, but like last night, we streamed the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul fight. Tonight, we're going to stream UFC 309. Do you like sports, Caddy Pants? Excellent. Excellent. Do you like football? Beautiful. Additionally, you may see, and I'm sure you have, like, yo, Rabbi, why do you have, like, kitty blankets and stuff and, like, cartoons? This is actually a cryptocurrency that sponsors me. LFG, how are you, baby? Shout out to you, Crowley. Crowley, I'm in the middle of a spiel right now. I am plugging Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10 Inu. So essentially, this coin, when I started, is worth less than a penny. And like a month ago, it was worth like 8 cents. And it's now like worth near 30 cents. And it has like a $300 million market cap. So there are a lot of people behind this. Additionally, and I don't want you to buy this NFT. You invest, do your own due diligence. But what I am telling you is that this NFT is backed by data, and this coin is backed by data. This NFT, when I started, they were giving them away. A few weeks ago, they were $800. Now they're $11,000. So we're seeing a lot of growth out of this, and I've just had the most wonderful community. It's known as Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10 Inu, sponsor me on this journey. I met them more than a year ago, and I've been live in their Telegram now for more than a year, taking questions from the community, supporting the community. Essentially, love you too, baby. You take care, Crowley. Take care. Apologies for that. Take care, my man. So yeah, we've got a really great community, really great people here. And when I tell you that I think I'm going to be able to make you rich, I wouldn't just say that. I wouldn't just bluff you. I wouldn't just try to inflate your ego. I really mean it, and that's a cool thing. Pardon me? Oh, what's the Telegram? It's t.me / yep, t.me / HPOS, the number 1, the number 0, and the letter I. You can also go to the website, which is hpos10i.com, and you'll see it's got a really retro effect, but just know it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But we went with a retro effect. We wanted it to be like a 90s website, like you might have gotten decades ago. But if you want to see the Telegram, it's t.me / HPOS10i. And it's very exciting to be on the cutting edge of essentially cryptocurrency and live streaming. Right before you came in, we were watching Eddie Craven's. Eddie Craven is the owner of the platform Kick. We were watching his weekly question and answer, and he and I are friends on Discord. So, I mean, I've got billionaires in my DMs, essentially, with just a little bit more momentum, and everybody's going to know about this. Everybody on Kick already knows about me. Aiden Ross knows about me. He's been in the stream. And I mean, he's been super cool to allow me to stream in his Discord now for like more than 6 months. I'm the number one streamer in Aiden Ross's Discord. I'm the number one streamer in iShow Speed's Discord and many other Discords as well. Oh yeah, 24/7, all the time. Yeah, I do everything I can. When I go outside, I stream that. When I go to the bathroom, I stream that. I stream when I'm in the shower. A lot of times I wear like bathing trunks, but sometimes I'll just have the camera above me. I've created robots for the Kick platform that essentially they do 3 things for me at any given time. Apologies, I'm just having to update one of my computers. They follow people. They create a clip of them, and when it creates a clip, it puts my Discord in the clip, and then also it spams them. It spams them 8 times, and then it moves on to the next person. So it's not an overwhelming amount of spam. I understand that we have real people here, but also I'm very open to telling people how they can avoid this. All they have to do is put like a 1-minute delay on their streams, and they'll never get any spam. They will get my clips, but there's not a lot that they can do about that. And so if you, no, you're good, my man. So like if you ask the biggest streamers on Kick, Aiden Ross, Amaranth, PX6, Ice Poseidon, Action Man, all of those people, they all know me very well. And recently I did an interview with Sam Bond on Kick and also Ori on Kick. So those are some nice interviews. If you ever want to learn about like more about what I do or my interactions with people, if you don't mind, I'm going to send you a friend request. And excellent. And yeah, I mean, aside from that, we're going to watch UFC tonight, which is a big deal. And then, the cryptocurrency that I'm in, we have like the most amazing fantasy football league. So it gets really intense, really competitive, and there's a lot of money on the line because when we first started, it was like a $50 buy-in, but the coin was only worth like 8 cents then. Now it's worth like 30 cents. And so when before the pot was going to be like $600, it's now going to be worth thousands of dollars. So it's kind of a neat thing that we've got going as well. So if you're like, if you wonder what else we do on here, I do a lot of karaoke. I watch a lot of stand-up. I've always got the radio going in the background to KFI Los Angeles, basically always playing the news. So you can go through any of my streams all the way back to the pandemic and find out exactly what was going on in the world at any given time. And I've also got redundant streams. So in case any one of my streams go down, I have another 7 or so to back it up. And it's quite an exciting little project that I've got going. So yeah, do you have any questions? One more time, apologies. Oh, absolutely. So just know you're always welcome here. I don't expect you to be here all day like some of the other people, but whenever you're bored, I ask that you just come in and see what we're doing, and we'll make really good friends. And we're always got something interesting with Joe Rogan going or any of the other stuff. So just know that you're always welcome here, okay? Excellent. All right, well, with that, I'm going to continue working on my bots. I'm going to play Joe Rogan, and if you have any other questions, let me know. But I want you to know I hope this is the beginning of our friendship. I understand. Well, you do what you need to get prepared for that, and just know that we're here for you. And I care about people. I care about the good of the world. I really do this for world peace. I'm sick of every single day hearing about wars, and I want them to stop everywhere in the world. And if you're like, Rabbi, what what are you going to be able to do to stop war? Well, essentially, this gives me a platform to be able to discuss world peace. And once we get people to discuss world peace, we can start moving toward it. A lot of times people are contrarian and they'll say, well, I don't believe in world peace. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. Or they'll say, I don't think that world peace will ever happen. Okay, that's cool as well. But what you have to understand, or what they have to understand, is if you study extraterrestrial civilizations, and this isn't so wild an idea. We just had congressional hearings this week on the UFO subject, and we had them in 2023 as well. This disclosure is happening, very maybe a snail's pace, but it is happening. And when we study these types of civilizations, we learn that they never have a civil war going on at home and they start exploring other areas. No, what happens is they unite at home, and then they start with, space tourism and terraforming other planets, and then eventually moving into interstellar travel. Eventually, humans are going to do that as well, and it's just a matter of time until we get peace on this globe, and I'm an advocate for it. So what do I advocate? I don't think it's right for me to put my hands on you, nor your hands on me, and if we ever have a war, the way that I think that it should be addressed is everybody puts down their arms immediately. All of the hostages from both sides are released no matter what. We don't use people as a negotiation piece. We have both sides sit at the table, eye to eye, in the same room, and we live stream it. That's my plan. And we come to terms. If we need, we get out a map and we say, okay, what part of the land do you want? What part of the land do you want? And we're going to sit here all day until we come to some type of conclusion. And I think it's pretty simple. Now, I am just one person. And right now, do I have all of the influence that I'd like? No. But the second that this goes viral, I'll have more influence than anybody on Earth. I'll be the most famous person on Earth because I have more data than anybody on Earth. I've been on camera more than any person ever. I have 10 times more data on YouTube alone than Mr. Beast and PewDiePie combined. I mean, I just have huge amounts, 10 times, 100 times. So people, I think, definitely at a university level and perhaps at other levels of academia will study this just to see what it's like of the record of a human. In the past, people would keep journals. We'd have diarists, people who would write diaries every day. And that's essentially what I do for the modern age. When do I think that I go viral? It's a good question. I hope by the end of the year. And I've got some plans in place that may happen. I get more and more well-known on Discord in particular, but also I've created some robots on Kick that spam Kick for me. And with the amount of momentum that we've seen, I mean, sometimes I get 25 people in here within a few minutes. Other times it's just a few people, but all it takes is just one event for someone to say, wait, what is this person has? I've never seen so many accounts before. They tell a friend, that friend's like, wow, this is wild. And they're going to say that they're going to make us a trillionaire. It's worth a retweet. And then that spreads. And all of a sudden, I'm different than any other creator. Any other creator, you're going to be able to go through all of their content within an hour. And you're going to be able to get the gist of it. Not mine. Mine, it'll take you an hour to just go through my Instagrams easily. And I mean, scrolling like this quickly. I mean, when you have 200 Instagrams, I created a robot on Instagram that automatically uploads every single minute for me, but it uploads once an hour. And so you'll be able to actually watch life in reverse on Instagram. It's going to be a spectacular opportunity for the world, and on YouTube and on Twitch and on all the other ones. And the funny thing is, when I go viral, people are going to be like, oh yeah, I know about this person 2 years ago. They were spamming me. Or I know about this person 3 years ago. I was one of the first people in their Facebook group or in their YouTube chat. So a lot of people do know about me, and it's coming to a head. So I hope by the end of the year, we'll be famous. And if not then, hopefully in the weeks thereafter. Any other questions, Caddy Pants? I appreciate that, my man. Well, just know that we're here for you. We want to learn about you more as much as you want to share whenever you want to share it. And just know that you have a place here to be cozy, comfortable, and chill whenever you want, okay? Excellent. Well, come back for the fight tonight, okay?
Yeah, well,
Excellent. You know, John Jones, it's like the first time in 3 years that we have a heavyweight fight. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be tight. So we'll see you tonight, okay, Caddy Pants?
what time is it?
Just one moment. I'll get you all that information. What time is UFC 309? By the way, I use AI a lot. So it doesn't always work exactly the way that we want, but it looks like it's going to be let's see here. Daytime. Okay. So the main card is 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're here by 7 p.m. Pacific time, you'll be able to see the main card. Actually, I've got do you see where this lady is here on the screen? Okay. So all I have to do is go like this, and
That field is
it'll play.
particularly protective of its.
I can also live stream it as well. And then I have a projector where I can show it. So I've got like 3 different ways that I'll show it at once. Excellent. All right, Caddy Pants. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day at work, and we'll see you later today, okay? Peace, man. Shout out to Caddy Pants, everybody.
Ideas because it's had to battle with intelligent design for so many decades and really stand its ground. And Origin of Life is like a really separate community from biology writ large. I mean, I was even told early in my career when I was a postdoc by a very prominent biologist that I shouldn't work on origins of life. I want to understand what life is. I should just pick a standard biology problem. And I thought to myself, like, the one problem you want to pick is the one everyone can't answer, because that's where you have the most progress.
Yeah.
So it's just very funny to me that it's often swept under the rug as solved or too hard to solve, both simultaneously at the same time.
It sounds insane to me that someone would tell you not to look into the origin of life.
Yeah.
Because the idea that we have figured everything out about, even if we understand the processes involved, right? How often does this take place in the universe? Like, what is this? What is it? Are there other ways to do it?
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I mean, we don't have an idea what an alien is, right? Like, just that should slap you in the face. Like, the multitude of ways we talk about alien, we don't know what we mean when we say that.
It brings me back to this concept of the muse. So my thought, I had this bizarre thought once that ideas are life forms.
Oh, sure. I totally agree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
So my thought is every physical object that human beings have ever created came out of an idea.
Yes.
So idea gets into primate brain. Primate brain goes, I think I can make a canoe.
Yeah.
And then primate brain figures out a way to hollow out a tree and turn it into a canoe. And then primate brain says, you know what? When I let go of this stick, if I pull it back, it goes forward. Right? If I let go of it and it springs, what if I could tie a string? And what if I could pull it further? And what if I get a stick? I think I can get that stick to fly, and then it becomes a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And so the human mind interacts with these ideas. The ideas manifest themselves in physical objects.
Yes.
And every physical object, including airplanes, spaceships, space stations, satellites, all of them come from ideas.
I know.
And then these ideas, much like human beings interact with other human beings, these ideas interact with other ideas. And they create more and more complex versions. Then you get quantum computing.
Yeah.
It's not like one person's idea.
No, these are things that happen over centuries. Yeah. No, I totally agree with this. I actually make similar arguments in my book about rockets as a good example of this, right? Like they were imagined long before they became actual physical
Another Chinese
objects.
invention, by the way.
Yeah, the Chinese were onto lots of stuff.
Everything. Paper, alcohol,
Yeah.
everything. Mechanical
Amazing.
clock, everything.
Yeah. So I think I think this gets to the idea of like living objects being deep in time, because you like, and I also think a lot about the nature of like abstract things versus physical things. So I think everything is physical, and when we think of ideas as being abstract, it's just because, you know, like they're not physical objects yet in the same way that we see these kind of physical objects.
But they come
They
to our
can-
mind in some weird way that doesn't seem like you. Look, if I dig a hole, I
Yeah.
know I dug that hole.
Yeah.
Right? I know I stuck that shovel, I exerted effort, I put force,
Yeah.
I lifted the dirt out, I made the hole. So if someone says, where'd that hole come from? I'm like, oh, I dug the hole.
Yeah.
Simple. But if someone says, where'd you get the idea for a joke? I'll
Yeah.
go, oh, I don't know. It came
So,
to me one day. I
yeah.
was just laughing with my friends, and a thought popped in. It wasn't a calculated thing where I worked on it forever and ever. It's just it got entered into my mind out of nowhere, and then it came out my mouth, and everybody laughed, and I'm not sure where it came from. That's
Yeah.
weird.
It is totally weird.
It's weird. Now imagine that someone figuring out an airplane, like some
Yeah.
Wilbur and Orville
Well,
writer.
people did, but
Yeah.
you're right. It's also distributed over many human minds. So it's not like a single mind architecture. It's like the interaction of many minds and the physical world that generates these things. But I think,
Like that force.
Yeah.
Whatever the idea
I
is.
think it's
What is
time. It's time.
time?
Literally. Yeah. So in assembly theory, we think time is fundamental, but you might think of time as in terms of causation. And things like you that are, you know, take billions of years for the universe to generate have a lot of time embedded in you. And time is actually the creative mechanism that's expanding the space of possibilities and maybe the universe itself. But that's how I think about it. So you actually have an incredible amount of time in a small volume of space. That's what you are as an evolved object. At least that's sort of my current thinking of this theory that we're developing and how we're trying to test the transition to life. And so where are those things coming from? They're coming from the fact that you are an architecture that's deep in time, and you have all of this internal space in you that's temporal in size, not spatial in size, that you can draw from to create
And
things.
if you are reading people's work and interacting with people's research and you're learning things that people have discovered, you're essentially interacting with their time.
Yes, you're looking at all their traces of time, and you're doing it over time, and that's becoming part of your architecture.
Yeah.
And time and all of that structure is still in you.
And the more time you spend on it, the more you'll absorb that.
Yeah.
You'll absorb more and more and
Yes.
more of it.
Yeah.
And the more people's thoughts and more people's work you take in, you're taking all of their time
Yes.
and you're putting it all into your head.
We're just like bundles. I think about time and information kind of being the same thing, but we're just all of that causation bundled up in like these small. We look small, but we're not small.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have this visualization of Earth as like the largest thing in the universe that we know of, which is in terms of possibility space, or how much time is embedded in the current structure of the Earth. So if you could do a zoom out of like the entire universe, and you could look at like space, assuming there's no aliens out there, and you look at Earth, like Earth is giant as far as like the amount of stuff that can be made here and how much history is embodied in every object. It's just this huge causal structure, and this like, and I think we're representations of that physics. And that's one of the reasons that we have this kind of perplexing feature of like, these things seem abstract. Well, they're not abstract. Like they don't look like they're in physical space, like knock on wood on the table, but the table is like an object that has like 4 billion years of history in it. So it's like the physicality of the table is mostly in time, not space. And that's true, I think, for us as living things.
It makes sense. And it also, if you could go to the original collision of like Earth 1,
Yeah.
when Earth 1 creates the moon, and just imagine being
It's
able
so
to.
fabulous. We have a giant moon.
So crazy.
It's so crazy.
It's the only thing that keeps our atmosphere stable.
Yeah.
It's the only reason why we're here.
Yeah.
Like, we're in this form. With the
Exactly.
stable temperatures.
Such a chance event.
And it's so big.
Yeah.
It's 1/4 the size of us.
I know.
It's nuts.
And it looks nice on water.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's floating in the sky, and it makes a summer night look incredible. Look at the moon.
I know. And we get eclipses.
Yeah.
So much of human history is dictated by the moon. It's amazing. Anyway, sorry.
It is. No, it's incredible. But that this whole thing, if you could watch it take place, I wonder if I've often thought, like, there's so many mysteries of history, but I've almost wondered that if calculations get to a point, if computers get to a point where they could examine all of the objects in all the places that they are currently in the world, and all the force that would cause them to exist, and all the history that caused them to exist, you could accurately go back and see exactly what happened every step of the way.
Yeah. I think it might be possible. It's an interesting kind of thought experiment about like whether the universe is deterministic and fully predictable. And I think in the past, like one of the reasons that we think the laws of physics are deterministic is because in the past you can determine things, but I think the future is undetermined until it happens.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it might be possible, but I don't know how much you can reconstruct because things die out, like extinction of entire lines of life, or like things disappear, like they don't exist anymore. And so I think that you can reconstruct the past, but I don't believe personally in an exact history for the universe.
Well, if we can reconstruct the past based on our current understanding, which is fairly limited and much greater than it used to be 300 or 400 years ago, if we could expand that knowledge for the next 1,000, 500,000 years ago, whatever it is from now into the future, to develop some sort of a computation system, some sort of an ability to have an accurate assessment of everything that took place, and then be able to lay it out how it took place because of all the objects and all the places and all the species that died off and all the records when they do core samples and they understand the iridium content, which meant asteroids impacted here, or in carbon, which is some sort of a fire here, and it just calculated out where you can get some accurate.
In principle, it makes sense, but I think in practice, I'm not even sure that's physically possible because as you're like trying to compute everything that the universe has done, you also have to like make sure that physical thing actually can calculate itself and continue to exist in the future. So if you're like it's an interesting thought experiment about like how much the universe can be computed, but you have to deal with resource bounds. And so like you have to deal with an actual physical implementation of that computer, and that computer has to be able to persist long enough to do the calculations and have enough energy to do it, which means there has to be things external to the computer. So you can't use all the resources available just for the computer, like the compute. You actually have to keep the whole thing running. So so I don't think that you actually can know the past with exact, I was going to say infinite resolution, but I don't believe in infinities anyway, but like really precise resolution that you could reconstruct everything that has happened in the history of the universe. I think our universe forgets things, and I think it does so on purpose because that's part of the, not purpose, but like not in an anthropocentric way, but it does so because the act of forgetting things is actually in part how the universe generates novelty. If it remembered everything in the past and only those things persisted, like we live in an incredibly boring universe. We live in a universe that's constantly creating things, and sometimes it like some of those things can't be generated anymore, but it makes more space for other things to be created.
You don't believe in infinity?
I don't.
Interesting.
I mean, as a mathematical construct, sure, but as a real physical thing, no. But I have a really different view of mathematics than most people. Like, I think mathematics is a physical system that exists on our planet, and I don't believe in like a Euclidean world that's like a perfect mathematical forms. I think they're a thing that our biosphere has invented, and one of the reasons that we think mathematics is universal is because it's a language that we understand that actually is information that's embedded in pretty much every object in our environment. But it doesn't mean that it's like it has universal reach.
Yeah, there's problems with mathematics too, right? Eric Weinstein is a mathematician.
Yeah, I know Eric, yeah.
The number two,
yeah.
A bunch of different things that are bizarre with math. So it almost hints to an incomplete understanding of mathematics, even as we currently know it.
Right. Well, there's always that. I mean, it always perplexes me that, people accepted Euclidean geometry as the only form of geometry for like 2,000 years. I mean, it's like like literally, like that was it. And then we were like, oh, well, there could be non-Euclidean geometries, and we just never imagined them because like they don't reflect our physical environment. I mean, that's crazy. So that's saying that there's mathematics we don't understand. But then there's a question about whether there's a deeper structure that's not even mathematical that math might be derived from. Like, is there a language deeper than math?
What could that be?
Don't know. I mean,
Have you thought about it?
I have. I think about it a lot.
I'm sure you do.
Well, I mean,
Kind of a rhetorical question.
yeah, no, it's okay. Well, I worry about this a lot with like the nature of the relationship between the theory of computation and assembly theory, for example. So computation is, you know, a way that we kind of understand the formalization of mathematical things that we actually can, you know, algorithmically do, right? So anything that you can calculate, you can compute. And so there are obviously like uncomputable numbers and things like that, but they live in some abstract, you know, like, but anyway, so assembly theory has some features that look like theories of complexity and computation in that, you know, like people will talk about a minimal complexity for a computer program as being the way that you talk about complexity. And we talk about a minimal causal history to construct an object. But I think what assembly theory is that is a bit different and super interesting is it's NP, like it's actually hard to compute the assembly index. It's harder than classes of computational algorithms that are kind of similar to it. But the universe generates these molecules that are computationally incredibly complex, but causally the universe can generate them. And so like you couldn't compute necessarily like on a supercomputer, like, you know, the complexity of a cell, like you're saying, like, could I reconstruct the whole history? Yet the universe can generate that structure.
Right.
So it suggests to me that there's something else going on, and the space is actually a lot larger than what you can computationally compress.
So what else could be going on?
I think that the best language I have for it right now, and I really don't know, like I'm really struggling with this in my work right now, and Lee and I are going back and forth about these things all the time, but is causation, and also that the other part about like why the universe is maybe not computable is this mechanism of novelty generation. Like there are some, if the universe genuinely creates novelty that can't be predicted on prior history, and like the future really is not determined, that's just suggesting something fundamentally different than the way that we understand the way the world works right now. And I don't know what it is, but I think that has to do with something with causation and something about the physicality of objects. Like objects really do exist. They really do encode their histories, and those histories are interacting all the time, which is making everything much more complicated. Like that idea of these time threads interacting that you were talking about.
And then there's the fundamental question of why.
Yes. I think, I mean, when I think about like what life is, like why does life exist? I think the universe is trying to maximize the number of things that exist. Because if you think like things exist or they don't, and you know, like the universe is the constructor for things to get to exist. Like it's building all of existence is, you know, like what physically exists in our universe. You know, wouldn't it be great if like there was a principle of nature or it's just trying to pack as much existence in as possible?
Well, it makes sense also if physical things, these human beings create, and life creates physical things.
Yes.
That would be the best way to maximize it, because this
which is also why I think we have free will. Because if we act independently, we're actually more creative than if we didn't. Yeah.
Do you ever butt heads with determinism people?
I butt heads with everyone. Nothing wrong with that.
No, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, no, I fundamentally love disagreeing with smart people. And so I think, and I try to surround myself with colleagues that share that mentality. So I think,
it's the best mentality.
Yeah, and I think being around people that challenge you is so critical. And like you disagree with them on fundamental things, like that's okay. Like I like some of my closest friends boil my blood on some things, but you have to respect that they're thinking smart people, and like,
right.
Yeah. So
I always put myself in their head.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we have a huge problem as human beings is we attach ideas to ourselves, and so we defend these ideas as if we're defending our very existence.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I think we do have a tendency to do that.
I've developed that through having so many conversations with people that I don't see eye to eye with on the podcast, but instead of arguing with them, I try to ask them how they think, why they think the way they think, what is it, challenge a little bit just to try to get a response out of them, and try to figure out like what is your process and why is it so different than
Well, that's
mine?
good for you too, because you grow more and you understand more by doing that.
Doing this thing over the last 15 years has been like the most radical, unexpected education that I could have ever had.
That's amazing.
I'm a different human.
Yeah.
Like completely different human than I was 15 years ago.
Yeah. I think that is something that's really hard. Is like if you close yourself to ideas that you don't agree with, you're closing off yourself to potential to grow.
Yes.
And understand the world better. And I think
unquestionably.
Yeah.
Unquestionably. And these ideas, the problem when we start defending them is like, then we stop looking at them. We start like we put them as like a protected thing that we're trying to argue against, and we're trying to, instead of invite criticism and some sort of an analysis of our thought process, we're trying to defend it.
No, so I'm happy, like professionally, also to change my mind all the time. So I was a determinist. I'm not a determinist anymore. Right now, I'm a presentist.
When did that change?
I think that probably changed in the last few years. And it's mostly because of the structure of what I understand of like what we're doing with assembly theory. So like assembly theory is like still very much in development, and we're still really trying to work on the ideas. But I always had these ideas about the origin of life having something to do with information playing a causal role in the structure of reality. And information is like an abstract thing. Like how can you think that mathematical structures can influence physical world? But like you just gave great examples of things that were once ideas that became physical. And I think about like Newton's law of gravitation is a law of nature. It describes something about the objective world, but the law itself is also an object that exists in our biosphere that's generating structure, like allowing us to launch satellites into space. That wouldn't be possible without that mathematical form existing on our planet as a description of reality, right? So that's an object. And so these kind of things were always really perplexing to me. And so, I started working with Lee on assembly theory, and like Lee's very radical and very thought-provoking and always pushing. And he was really on this idea of the universe not being deterministic and getting larger in time. And like part of that was not he's like, I'm a chemist, I burn shit, I see this in the lab. The second law is not like the right description of like what's going on here, but there is some underlying undeterminism and novelty mechanism in chemistry that life seems to be, like really manifesting. And
so what is free will then?
For me, so what happened was when I started working on assembly theory, I started to like see that there was a really different structure, especially associated with the way information gets embodied in physical objects and the history being physical in the objects. And free will becomes this idea that like, you actually can't, in standard physics, you would say like an emergent thing like us can be reduced to our atoms and all of the fundamental description is down there. But what you've done is stripped that physical system of all the time inside of it, right? So elementary particles, they don't require a memory for the universe to generate them. They're spontaneous. The universe has them for free. But things like us require memory and things that know how to build things like us in order for us to exist. And then once we exist, we're encoding all of that history and information in us as objects. All of that causation is in us, which means that all of the selection over all the histories to generate us is still part of us and allows us to actually work in this combinatorial space that we can actually generate new structures. And that is actually like where free will comes from. It's not that like it's basically if you assume you can't reduce things to elementary particles all the time and you actually have time and objects, things become causal agents, actually have some navigability over the combinatorial space of the possibilities they live in that they have some control over. And that's what I think free will is. You don't have control over everything. So it's not like free will is not all free or all determinism. And I think Dan Dennett was really brilliant on this point. Like he talked about free will inflation, which I thought was a hysterical concept. It's like really funny, but it's like either people think the universe is random and you actually have free will and control over everything, or they think it's fully deterministic and you have no freedom. But actually what it is determinism is built over lineages because things get selected to exist and they become part of the regular structure of our universe. So determinism itself is an emergent property, and things that are very deterministic like us actually have more causal control over the kind of things that can happen to them, but they can't control everything. So we have limited free will. Like I couldn't be home in Arizona this exact second, but I can be there later today because I planned ahead for it. Like that's where your free will executes over time.
So this concept of determinism is just too simplistic.
Yeah. I mean, to think that the universe is all like one human concept anyway is too simplistic. It's like it's deterministic or it's not deterministic. Actually, there are cases where you can model it as being deterministic because you're looking at the past, and there are places you cannot model it as being deterministic because you're looking at the future.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty simple concept and very evident when you're looking at living things. Like, no one can predict the future technologies, or the future of the biosphere.
Right.
Some of the information's there. Like we were talking about before, like maids will probably still be present 50 years from now. So I might be able to predict some things about the future, but the novelty is really hard.
The problem I've always had with determinism is that people seem too sure of it. And
yes.
The people that espouse it, they seem very sure of it. And I think, how can you be sure when you know for a fact in your own mind you make decisions?
Yeah.
And you think that these decisions are made entirely based on your life experiences, your education, your biology, yada, yada. But maybe not. Because there's things going on that are weird. There's moments, there's inspiration, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Intuition is a big one for me. I always find that very interesting.
Yes, I live my whole life on instincts.
Yeah.
I do things that a lot of people go, why are you doing that? I'm like,
that's
what I should do. I feel like that's what I should do. Like, it feels like a thing to do. And that seems to be, for lack of a better term, free will. Discipline itself, for lack of a better term, is free will.
Yeah.
What is it about the idea of being rewarded by doing something difficult you don't want to do, but you force yourself to do it? If that is not free will, what is?
Yeah.
It seems like nothing can make you get up and go for a run if you don't want to go for a run. But you decide to do it, which is the embodiment of free will.
Right.
That is free will manifested in a physical
I 100% agree.
action.
Yeah. I think the issue about why people, really want to say free will doesn't exist is because it's not compatible with standard, theories in physics, and therefore, we know how our universe works. You can't have free will. But our standard theories in physics can't explain life. They can't explain mind, and free will lives in the space of whatever physics describes life and mind. It doesn't live in the physics of gravitation or the physics of quantum particles. Those are totally different areas of physical reality that have nothing to do with you as an evolved structure over 4 billion years that now has agency in the universe. You're a different component of physical reality than those theories are describing. And I think, we have a tendency to think physics is complete. We have done this throughout, the history of physics. It's every century, they think the last century did it. We understand reality now. And it's every century has a new description. I will never forget, I bouncing between my classes as an undergrad physics student, and how many times I was told, it's really comical at the end of the 1800s, they thought physics was complete. And then there was general relativity and quantum mechanics. This is so funny. But it's I go in a physics department and we're talking about this, and I'm like, we don't need new physics for life. Physics is already done. We have the standard model. And I'm just are you not understanding the dichotomy here between what we teach students and how we talk about where we are now in history? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy.
It is crazy that we repeat these problems, repeat these issues over and over and over again, and we go, oh, back then they were stupid. Don't you think in the future, if you could just look at the history of human beings, what they believe, and don't you think there's got to be some stuff like that right now?
Yeah.
There has to be.
There has to be.
There's no way we figured it out.
No, I definitely think fundamental physics has a very bright future of having some really fundamentally earth-shattering ways of thinking about things that I don't even think our current theories are that. They're going to be replaced by things even more awesome. And I'm really excited about that. I mean, that's why you want to do physics, right? You don't want to work on the theories of the guys that were around 100 years ago. Why don't you work on the new ideas that describe the reality as you're coming to understand it now in history, not. Right. Yeah, so it's funny that people want to just accept what previous generations taught them as absolute fact, and then not be confronted with the changing times, the changing understanding of the world around us, the changing sets of observations. Because I can imagine, many thousands of years ago when humans were, still being hunter-gatherers, not really thinking we have a lot of causal agency in the world. You see the seasons, you have no control over them. And and so obviously we're born out of this idea that the universe is objective and existing outside of us because of a deep history of not having control. But now in a modern technological society, we see how much of reality we've shaped and changed. I don't know how you could hold that view anymore. And like it's very deep in our history that like we think these things, but like the evidence around us right now is completely to the contrary.
And this also seems like an emergent property of human beings.
Yes, humans in particular. I think animals do it to an extent, but I think our ability to abstract and our ability to build technologies based on our abstractions and like what we're doing now is fundamentally different than anything that our biosphere has done over the last 4 billion years. I think we're pretty special, and I have no problem saying that. Like, I think we're the most interesting thing in the universe.
Yeah, I think so. Well, the known universe.
Known universe, yeah.
I think it's quite possible there's something else out there that's a little bit more interesting than us.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but I don't think that we're ever going to recognize what that thing is until we actually really appreciate what we are.
Interesting. You glossed over this, but I want to get back to it.
Sure.
Why don't you believe in infinity?
Oh, so I think it's not possible for like I guess people want to say the universe is infinite in size, and I don't know what that means. I think it just is a placeholder of like we don't understand. So infinity helps in like certain theories of physics, like to actually make your mathematics tractable, but to say it's actually like a physical thing, to me is it doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense because I think if you assume like there's an infinity of things that could exist, and that infinity of things exists somewhere, right? Like, so you have like, Max Tegmark's mathematical universe hypothesis, all mathematical objects exist somewhere. And obviously there's like an infinite number of them. It doesn't actually explain anything about here. Or like, why do we have the things that we have in this universe? And I think what infinity is it's a feature of humans' imagination to define the space of what's possible. And it physically exists as the boundary of that space, but it doesn't physically exist out there as a real physical thing. Like there is no infinite space. There is no infinite possibilities of a multiverse. Those are abstractions that exist in human minds that allow us to think about how the world works and reason in what we can actually construct here as far as theories we understand or things we can build.
But the concept of infinity, if the universe is not infinite, then the universe has a defined boundary. So what's beyond that boundary?
I don't know.
That's weird, right?
Yes.
That seems like maybe that's what infinity is.
Yeah. So I think we could be saying the same. Like I think about it sort of like there's a boundary that is like the physical size of the universe and the physical stuff in the universe. And then there's another boundary, which is part of that physical boundary, but it's like the things that we can imagine. And the things we can imagine at least can possibly be physically real. And then there's another boundary we can't even imagine. I don't even know if there's stuff out there that's like beyond that. And like, you can't even talk about it because you can't even imagine what it is.
Right. One of the most perplexing theories that I've ever heard was the concept of in the center of every galaxy there's a supermassive black hole, and that going through that supermassive black hole you will go into another universe.
These are kind of interesting and fun and kind of
but like
very
what are you
fun.
saying?
I mean there's a lot of theories about like the multiverse, and I think they're intellectually interesting. And they bring interesting philosophy into physics, but I don't know that I can assign physical realism to anything that we can't observe directly. And I would rather take the mathematics and the theories of physics themselves. Like I do these thought experiments about like the theoretical physics of theoretical physicists. It's like if I were outside of myself and I was watching what I was as a theoretical physicist, writing down equations and like trying to describe the world, what would those mathematical objects look like as physical things? And so this to me is the perspective that I find much more productive, because I don't think people have looked at that through that lens at what mathematics is. Like we tend to take the Euclidean, and like the Plato's cave type paradigm from the ancient Greeks, that like there's a perfect world of forms and like, we're just seeing the shadows of like this perfect reality. And I think the universe is constructing itself, and mathematics is a particular thing our universe has constructed that enables things to be possible that wouldn't be possible without mathematics existing.
The people that are proponents of this concept of infinity and that do believe in it, when you steel man that, what's the best argument for it?
Well, I think the idea, it's kind of like what you're saying. Like if you take the limit, like it actually is consistent with our equations to assume that, like the universe could be infinite, or the time in the future could be infinite. And it to them, I think it seems like it has some physicality to it. But I don't, but I always, it always seems to me to be a placeholder of like the boundary. And so, but also like, it depends on what you think is satisfactory. So if you want to believe a multiverse hypothesis and there's sort of an infinite number of realities, because you find that more explanatory to assume that everything exists. And therefore, like, we're just one thing in that space. Some people find that satisfactory. I don't find that satisfactory because it doesn't explain why we exist. And I want to explain us. I want to know what we are. Yeah, but it's a hard set of questions around infinity and mathematics just generally. And I find it really fun to think about.
The multiverse to me is the most bizarre mind experiment because there's no evidence that it exists, but it's a concept that's universally it's shared a lot and it's debated a lot, and it's some people they'll pontificate on it, but you might be thinking about nonsense.
Right. So I think another reason I don't really think infinity is like a real construct is I really am a big fan of Nick Jizen. He's a physicist that's kind of arguing that real numbers aren't real. And what he means by that is like, if you want to compute a real number and like, we use real numbers, like, like they require infinite precision to compute all the digits. And, you're assuming a lot of resource for a universe built on real numbers, because basically it means anything that you look at, you can look at with infinite resolution. And it's probably the case, especially if you think the universe is constructed, or even if you believe in a simulation argument, that there has to be a granularity there, because the universe has to do these things in finite time with finite resource. There isn't evidence that there's infinite time or infinite resource in our universe. And therefore, like, if you want something to actually be physically real, the universe has to be able to implement it. The universe cannot implement infinity in finite time. It just can't do it.
Right. Finite time.
Yeah. And I think time is finite. I think time is a resource. And I think time is part of the mechanism that the universe is actually constructing itself. The universe is constructing itself from moment to moment. And we persist over a certain set of moments. But yeah, that's why I said I'm a presentist, and I don't even know if I agree with myself on this. Like, I disagree with myself on a lot of things, and I might change my mind tomorrow. But it's like the idea only the present exists. So the past is rolled up in the present. Like, I think that there like the past structure exists in the present, and the present is now constructing the next moment, right? And so, but the space, like, the future is expanding. It's getting larger and larger and larger because there's so much combinatorial structure, like all these past histories now entwined in the modern structure, that they can now intertwine to make the future bigger and bigger.
And this is from our current observable position.
Yes.
And then you go,
which is the only one we can talk about.
Right. And then you expand out to the whole universe. And it's like, what is going on?
Yeah. So it's interesting you say that, because most theories of physics are actually constructed with the observer living outside the universe. Right. So like Newton had this conception of, like you could take a God's eye view, a literal God's eye view of the universe, and describe it objectively from the outside. And all of our theories of physics have this problem. This is why quantum mechanics is so existentially hard, because it confronts us with the fact that, like, if you have a physics where the observer is not part of the physics, it leads to really big problems with how we structure theories of physics. And this is why there's no one quantum theory. There's a whole bunch of interpretations of quantum experiments, and people call those different theories of quantum mechanics. But there's no like accepted standard interpretation that people would point to and say, this is the theory of quantum mechanics. There's interpretations. And I think they're great. There's great theories. It's great, like amazing, insightful stuff, but it's not quite on the same footing as like general relativity, which is like a widely accepted theory that it describes a set of observations. So, but it's because quantum mechanics has observers and people don't know how to interpret the observer. And we don't have a physics that was built starting from observers like us, things like us that are constructing theories of physics. How do we think about the world and put us inside the world? And I think a theory of life has to have that property. It has to account for the fact that we live inside the universe. We cannot escape the universe. Like, we're always going to be physically stuck here.
Right.
This is it. This is all we got.
Yeah.
And like describe why, like, what is the observational horizon we interact with, and how did we get structured out of that space? Like, why do we exist the way we do within that space?
Why do we?
I don't know, but I mean, I like the why questions. I was also told by like a really prominent senior physicist not to ask why, and I was like, why should we not ask why? like you should ask the why questions. They're good questions.
Isn't it interesting that some people that are at the top of their field still have these bizarre ideas that you just completely disagree with?
Yeah. Do I find that bizarre? No, I've had that since it's very funny because I think sometimes people are like, oh, Sarah, you're really successful in your career. Now you can see these things. And I'm like, I think I've been saying these things since I was like, I don't know, forever. Like, I haven't changed. My personality hasn't changed. I just, like, I'm deeply curious and I want to understand things. And I think, you have to be able to follow what you rationally think and what the evidence is telling you and the questions you think are interesting to answer. And I think the thing that I guess I've done is like the questions I want to answer are not ones that people have really taken as seriously as I've taken them because of the reasons that they think they're not answerable or they're already answered. And I just see this gaping hole in our understanding of reality that needs to be filled.
Well, listen, Sarah, I'm glad you're out there. I really am. This is a really fun conversation. I really appreciate it. Tell everybody how they can see some of your work.
Sure.
Or read about it.
Yeah, I have a book out. It actually is out today called Life as No One Knows It, The Physics of Life's Emergence, where I talk about assembly theory and, like what's needed to solve the physics of life. And also really trying to motivate this experimental program that Lee is spearheading because I'm such a fan of it to try to find aliens in the lab. So basically, like the idea here is we just want to get people excited about these problems and thinking about them more deeply, agreeing or better yet, like having lots of debate and discussion about like the nature of life and how we think about it and whether we can start an experimental program to really validate the ideas. So that's that. And I narrated the audiobook.
Fantastic.
Which
I love
was fun.
that. That makes me happy.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I was really like shy about doing it because some people like criticize my voice on like all the YouTube channels and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it.
Listen, stop reading the comments.
I know.
You got a great voice.
Thank you. But anyway, it's really fun. And it was deeply personal. So that was cool. And I'm on Twitter X thing and Instagram.
Who are you on? How does someone find you?
Sarah
Twitter?
Amari. There, you can find me that way.
Instagram as well.
Alien Matter.
Alien Matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't use that one as much, but it's fun.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye, everybody.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
Pleasure to meet you.
I'm very happy to be here. I'm actually quite thrilled.
I'm quite thrilled to have you here. This is your book. It's called Tripped, not See Germany, the CIA, and the Dawn of the Psychedelic Age. First of all, how did you get involved